today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
AFL.
What a stage. This game is coming to life.
The 2023 AFL Premiership season.
The Roar will tell you the story. Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see. Holds his arms out wide and tells them to get excited.
What a game. It's got everything. It's like Grease Lightning. It's so cool.
On the run. It's happening again. It's a whole new game.
Cause here it comes, here it comes.
With a talk from 55. That is the cream on the cake.
Sometimes you've just got to sit back and enjoy the show.
And we have a thriller.
To Gully, chest out, goal!
Something big is coming.
Goes for home. He's got it. Phenomenal finish.
Something big is coming. Something big is coming.
Fires, goals, brilliant.
The
2023 AFL Premiership season.
The chance exchange blows at either end.
Step up in the big moment.
Fill your lungs, are you ready for it?
This is a fantastic game of football we've got here.
The big time spot. His drop punt is pure.
Here they come.
What a finish.
Oh, he's a star. What a game.
Brilliant.
He hits. He goes.
Here comes the way of Nick Dacos. Gives it to Josh. They've got Dacos running through their DNA.
AFL.
It's hard up against the boundary in the right corner. Oh, that's one of the goals of the season. Checks on, bends it home. You cannot teach that. Brings it back superbly. Has the shot from the pocket. He is smoking tonight. That's around the body. Sensational goal.
And that's what brings fans through the game.
40 out. What a superstar.
Goes for home. They're red hot.
Punches the air in celebration. Outside of the boot from the impossible angle.
It's high. It's long. It's straight.
Unguarded goal square. He's got it. This is just getting good at the G.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
Brad Scott makes his coaching return at the MCG as Essendon clash with their arch rivals from the 80s, Hawthorn, in what might prove a crucial 4 points out of the blocks in season 2023. He was dealt a blow on Friday as the Bombers announced a 4-year contract extension for leading goal kicker Peter Wright, only to dislocate his shoulder later in the afternoon and will miss the first half of the season. Jake Stringer is fit but won't be out there for round one. Dylan Shield will play his 200th game, while Zach Merritt will lead out the Bombers for the first time this afternoon. And it's great to see Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti, who will be back for the Bombers in season 2023. Well, the Hawks enter their second year under coach Sam Mitchell, with the side having lost over 1,000 games of senior experience. It'll be interesting to see what the young Hawks look like this season and whether they can look to start their climb for their next premiership in 2023. Great to have your company at the MCG. It is overcast today, around 20 degrees, so a bit cooler than yesterday in the mid-30s. Thanks to Clint Wilden and the Footy Forum. Great to hear so many of your SMSs and calls across the last hour or so. And the scene is building here at the MCG. We expect sort of just under 60,000, and there's a good contingent of Bombers fans right at the very top of the Punt Road end stand, so all indications are a couple of years ago, round 1 2021, when it was a 1-point thriller between these two sides. Let's hope we get something a little bit similar today. I'm Matt Clinch for ABC Sport to call the action this afternoon with Corbin Middlemass. Welcome, Corby.
Thanks, Clinchy. Nice to be back here on a Sunday. As you said, two arch rivals, Essendon and Hawthorn. I was at the game that these two teams played last year. A sensational game of footy. The Bombers were 15 down at three-quarter time, kicked 8 goals to 1 in the last quarter to win. Everyone's done their season previews, including the captains. They always do the captain survey, and they had 13 different teams in the mix to make the top 8. 5 teams didn't get a single vote from any of the captains, and these two teams were 2 of the 5. So Hawthorn clearly in development mode, albeit they won more games than Essendon last year. So they won 8 games, Essendon only won 7. And I feel like leading into today's matches, there's been sort of an inbuilt excuse for St Kilda. Oh, they're missing 8 or 9 of their best 22. The Bombers clearly should be ahead in their development than where Hawthorn are at, but they also have an injury list as long as your arm. So you mentioned Peter Wright, who's joined that. Guelphy finished top 3 in their BNF last year. No Stringer. Sardis, their top pick. Ben Hobbs, who would be playing if fit. Nick Cox, who would be playing if fit. Zach Reid, another top pick. So there's probably 8 or 9 out for Essendon today, and it feels pretty sharp for them that I don't think any of that will matter, Clinchy, if they drop a game to Hawthorn today to start their season and start their new era under Brad Scott. So it feels like a fair bit in it for the Bombers in particular.
Absolutely. There's a bit to debate and to analyse before we even get to the opening bounds. 2 new captains in Zach Merritt and James Sicily to lead out their clubs this afternoon. Our 2 number 1 draft picks, they're back for our Sundays on season 2023. You've heard them already on Grandstand AFL Sunday with Corbin Middlemouse. Brett Delidio, welcome to you.
Yeah, thanks, Clinchy. Good to be back. First time since the granny, but we're talking earlier, or Alex Neil-Bullen was talking earlier about the build-up for round 1 and what it's like. And I remember building up a couple of times. We always played Carlton in our traditional games, Murph, back in the day, and it was analysing the Blues and what that looks like for weeks and weeks on end, then to finally roll out there and your head just goes into an absolute mess. What were we practicing then? What were we supposed to do? The crowd is enormous. So I can understand what these young guys are going to be like going out there today, trying to get that first run under their belt, that first contest. They'll be blowing, no doubt, but then it's just trying to remember, all right, what's Sam Mitchell, what's Brad Scott been drilling into us all summer? So, yeah, it should be a good game, but I don't expect, as the captains have said as well, Corby, that they'll be anywhere near the top of the ladder.
Former Carlton captain Mark Murphy was with us on Thursday night. Murph, a couple of years out of the system. When round 1 rolls around, do you miss it, or are you quite happy sitting amongst us?
Yeah, thanks, Clinchy. Good to be with you, Lids, today, and Corby. I'll miss it a little bit, but I know I can't do it anymore, so it doesn't really hurt. I reckon last year I was fresh out of the game. You think, wouldn't it be great to be out there? But these guys, they trained for 6 months leading into today, and Lids sort of made mention of it then about all eyes all through the pre-season, especially the 2 weeks sort of leading into the first round. You're just looking at your opponent, and so much work goes into your direct opponent and your opposition leading into round 1 that sometimes you get lost about what you're actually out there to do as a team as well. So it'd be really exciting to see a new Brad Scott side in Essendon and Sam Mitchell's younger brigade of Hawks running around. They lose a lot of experience from last year, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go this year. There's no doubt that there's going to be ups and downs throughout the season for probably both these clubs, really. So today's a really important start for both clubs, because if they can get off and get a win, it goes a long way to giving you a little bit of belief and reassurance that what they've been working on in the pre-season is working.
Half-time at Giants Stadium. It's the Crows who lead 8-12-60 to GWS 4-8-32. There is an ABC call available of that game. Look on the ABC Listen app and just click on the AFL Extra if you want to follow those 2 teams. But a bit of a surprise, not for some, that the Adelaide Crows have started in such a promising fashion, and Adam Kingsley in his first game as Giants coach with a bit of work to do in the second half.
Yeah, that's right. I actually tipped the Crows. I thought they've been going pretty well. Oh, that's there, mate. Don't worry. I did tip the Crows. I've still got faith in my old teammates, a couple of old teammates up there at the Giants.
Just jumped off, hasn't he?
No, I haven't. I can just read the tea leaves with what's going on in the footy world, Murphy. Experience tells you that. But no, I think I like what Adelaide are just starting to build. They've got some young, exciting players that are coming in, but they play with a real tenacity up there. So, not surprising so much, Clinchy, just yet, but it's only half-time.
There is no late changes for this afternoon's game. So Connor Nash is the sub for the Hawks. Anthony McDonald-Tippenwoody for the Bombers. Mitch Lewis is going to join us, the injured key forward for the Hawks. So we'll get some insights as to how his rehabilitation is going along and when we might see him back on the park. But just before he joins us, we haven't seen each other for 6 months. So a bit of a highlight of the off-season, Lids. What did you get up to?
Well, I've done plenty. I've been around down the coast a fair bit, Clinchy, and obviously become an expert in building sandcastles and digging holes, which is now fully qualified in that. But my best highlight was just last Monday, would you believe?
Oh, no, not going here.
And I play AFL 9s in the over 35s down at Glen Iris. And this particular night, we've rolled up against the old De La Salle boys. Matt Clinch is in the back pocket for the De La Salle boys. He's come out in a big offensive play.
Are you 35 yet?
Just. Yeah, so I'm fresh. I've got younger legs than a lot of the other boys out there, but
you're a rookie in the competition.
Yeah, very much so.
So reset the story. Sorry. So you're playing against
Clinchy.
Yep.
8 o'clock start, and Clinchy's come out to make a big defensive effort. Whistle goes, and he's had a free kick go against him. Dropped the lip, and he has, like Clayton Oliver last night, put it into the third tier. And I'm like, Clinch, that's terrible. You can't be doing that. I'm from the other end of the ground. He's like, I didn't even mean. I said, mate, you've hit it for 6.
Our esteemed host, Matt Clinch.
Drop the lip like you haven't seen through the toys out of the dummy.
Surely 50-metre penalty, time wasting.
No, just a little warning, but I give him an earful. Don't worry about that. But we got the chockies in the end and kicked them out of finals, I just found out. So I've had a couple of laughs there.
Yeah, cheerio to the D-Lar boys who, that one was a bit tough to go down. But Murph, I mean, physical specimens, if you compare yourself, me, Brett Delidio, I mean, we're having a little casual kick here in a over 35s comp, and Brett Delidio rolls out looking like he could still play out there on the MCG in the ruck.
Oh, well,
and then was
you just
giving me
the wins where you can get them, Clinchy.
Giving me a spray for trying to waste some time to catch my breath.
It does boost your confidence, I'll give you the tip. You feel like you can seriously play.
Anyway, a highlight for you, Murph, during your off-season.
Yeah, not as extravagant as that, but ducked over to the US and saw the Super Bowl, which has always been a bucket list item for me. So didn't get over there last year, my first year out of football, but locked myself in 12 months out. Got the approval from the wife, which is great, and then went over there for 5 days and mixed in the Phoenix Open, the Waste Management Open, which for anyone who loves their golf or loves a party, the party hole on hole 16 was certainly a highlight, but they have about 250,000 people there a day.
I was about to say, you prefaced it by saying for anyone that loves their golf, I'm not sure you really need to like golf, do you, to have a good time there?
Well, you don't, and I didn't until I'd been there, and now I love golf, and after watching Full Swing on Netflix as well, that's a great documentary. But mixed that into the Super Bowl and just had an awesome experience over there and saw two of the great sort of quarterbacks. I reckon Mahomes would be an all-time great by the time he's done. So, yeah, currently wearing the Kansas City Chiefs
rubbing
hat.
it in.
They're just rubbing it into lids today.
Jeez, a couple of good sporting highlights there from the US. Corby, I think yours might be obvious, but your highlight of the off-season?
Yeah, I was in India, Clinchy, a couple of weeks ago, which I was very lucky to head over there with the ABC for the Test series. So I went to Nagpur, which is a place that you probably wouldn't usually visit. I don't think. It's right in the middle of India and not a big tourist hotspot. And then the second test, I was in Delhi. So Delhi, obviously, a lot more tourists would pass through there, and it's kind of like the New York of India. It's there's a lot going on there, a lot of people, and did some sightseeing. So, it was sensational. And then saw a few days of cricket in between, not too many. The first and second tests were all over inside 3 days. But, unbelievable experience. So it was great. What about yourself?
The proper answer is I went to Port Douglas and did a bit of snorkeling around the Great Barrier Reef with the better half, so that was good fun. But professionally, got to work with Glenn McGrath and saw all the work he does around the pink test at the SCG. So EPing our test cricket coverage, getting to work with Glenn, and great addition into the ABC team. And cool Carl Hooper, as Usman Khawaja referred to him. He is the nicest guy off field. So didn't know Carl very well. Got to work with him in the series against the West Indies, and he was one of the loveliest guys you'll ever meet.
No, he was excellent.
I'm actually disappointed you didn't mention a fellow commentator that you shared the box with. Brian Lara.
Oh,
one of the all-time greats.
The Prince. I did do a little bit of work with Brian over the summer, so that was a big thrill. He was my favourite cricketer growing up, Brian Lara. I only got to see him live once. It was at the WACA ground, and to tie in all of our stories here, he was actually the middle wicket of Glenn McGrath's hat trick, which means he got a golden duck. So that's the only time I ever got to see him his best. Got to see him bat live.
In the rest, we'll continue dropping names. We're at the MCG. It's round 1 on this Sunday. It's Hawthorn taking on the Bombers. It's a big occasion. A chance to head inside the Hawthorn camp ahead of their opening game. Lauren Borden's down on the boundary. Lauren, welcome to you.
Hello, Clinchy. Nice to be down here on the MCG on a Sunday for the start of round 1. I've got Hawthorn forward Mitch Lewis with me. Unfortunately, you're not out here for round 1. There is a real buzz and excitement down here at ground level, though. What's the main thing that your side's going to go out and look to achieve on the field today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Obviously, I would absolutely love to be out here. Seeing the boys warm up now has made me extremely jealous. But, obviously we're a young group, so we're just looking to build together and hopefully we play some strong and attacking footy for our fans.
You've known for a few months now that you wouldn't be out here for round 1 after straining your ACL. What's the pre-season look like then for you when you've got the boys doing the main session? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so obviously in rehab, which can be a pretty lonely place at times, but the injury was about 2 months ago now, and I've sort of got 5 or 6 weeks to go. So, being here on the MCG round 1 doesn't make it any easier to not be out here with the fellas.
And do you feel like you're tracking quite well for that mark in about 5 or 6 weeks' time?
Yeah, so the knee's feeling really good, and rehab has been going well. Had a scan last week, and the ACL is basically back to about 80-85% strength. So, the last 5 or 6 weeks will just be about building into skills and go from there.
That's great to hear. We'll now send you upstairs to the box where we've got Brett Delidio, Mark Murphy, Corbin Middlemass and Matt Clinch.
Okay, Mitch, Mark Murphy here. Just obviously being injured, do you have a match day role today? Are you sitting in the stands? Are you in the coach's box? Do you look at something that you want to try and impart some knowledge and get down there at half-time and share with the guys?
Yeah, Murph, I sat in the coach's box for a couple of the practice games this year. Today, I'm just looking to sit in the stands and enjoy the match. A little bit more of a relaxed approach for me today, but I'll still be watching closely of the forwards and maybe head down at half-time to see if I'm noticing anything in the game.
Yeah, and obviously a few debutants today. Just talk us through some of the guys playing their first game and what we can expect.
Yeah, so obviously the big one that people would know is Carl Amon. He's come across from Port Adelaide, and his ball use across the wing is going to be really important for us. Lloyd Meek as well, he'll play a role up forward and in the ruck, help out big Ned Reeves. And then obviously a couple of really good stories in Cam McKenzie is a first-year player, first game of AFL footy, and Fergus Green, who I think hasn't played AFL footy for 1,000 and something days, so he's a really special one today.
Mitchie, Lids here. Just out of those young blokes that have just come into your side, especially the ones from last year, who's your favourite so far to watch, and who you thinking is going to give you the most going forward?
Yeah, g'day Lids. Good to speak to you again, mate. Connor McDonald is one that played just about every game last year as a first-year player, and I'll look to him to have a really big impact in his second year across that half-forward role, I think.
Beautiful, mate. What about Will Day, mate? Whereabouts do we think we'll see young Will in the action? Is he going to be in the middle, or will we see him more across half-back today?
Yeah, well, Will played most of his pre-season footy in the midfield, so I think he'll spend most of his time there. But the good thing about Daisy is he can play just about anywhere on the ground. So we've seen him effectively play that half-back role, and even went forward last year at times to kick a couple of goals. So he's really versatile, which is always good to have as a coaching group.
Mitch Lewis, injured Hawthorn forward with us on Grandstand AFL. Mitch, it's Corbin Middlemass here. Can you just talk to me about the nature of your injury? So it's an ACL, but it's not an ACL. Is that right? Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, I can. I'm no doctor, but the way it was described to me is there's two parts of the ACL. There's sort of a stronger part of it and a weaker part, and I've torn that weaker ligament. So the stronger element is completely fine, and I think generally when you have a full ACL tear and in need of a reconstruction, that whole ligament is torn. So I was pretty fortunate to end up with a 12-week injury instead of sort of a 12-month one.
And is there sort of, I guess, fears of one affecting the other, or what's sort of the recovery process on that front, obviously knowing that you do have some damage in that region?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think as soon as I get back to sort of training and give it the time to fully heal, it's back to 100%. So, as I said, I got a scan last week and it's scarring up nicely. So sort of back to 80-85%, and I'm sure I'll get another follow-up scan closer to play to make sure it's 100%.
So no Gunston, no Lewis, obviously today in the forward line. What's it going to look like ahead of the ball for Hawthorn today?
Yeah, obviously we've got Big Cozzy. I thought he was really good in the game against Collingwood, and obviously Fergus Green for his first game for the footy club. He's a really versatile type player that hopefully can kick a few goals for us, but you've got those stalwarts down there as well, Chad Wingard, Luke Bruce. There's still some really big names, and Dylan Moore, he'll run all day, so he's going to provide some really nice options for us.
And everything I've heard out of Hawthorn over the pre-season is about how fit that the group is, and that you're really going to hit this first sort of 8 weeks of the season sort of red hot compared to a lot of the rest of the competition. Peter Burge has obviously made the trip across from Richmond as the high performance boss now at Hawthorn. What has he brought, and what is the conditioning like of the group at the moment?
Yeah, Burgey, Lids would be pretty familiar with his work. He's been great. He's brought in a high level of professionalism, and yes, our time trials and training numbers have been really strong, but it means absolutely nothing if we don't do it on game day. So we'll be looking for some strong run and carry from all of our players today.
Mitch Lewis has said this on the boundary ahead of Hawthorn and Essendon this afternoon. Mitch, it's Matt Clinch. Just a chance to chat to you. Your season last year, a breakout, 37 goals from 15 games. What were a couple of the key improvements from your point of view? Did you just feel more comfortable at the elite level, or was there a couple of things in the off-season that you're really keen to implement?
Yeah, Yeah, Matt, it's a good question. I think just time with this group and building confidence within myself at the footy club was a key factor. Sam Mitchell coming in and his sort of change of game plan was big for me as well. Moving the footy a little bit faster, that slingshot type of game plan from half back allowed me to sort of get out the back and get some 1v1s, which as a forward you absolutely love. So there was a couple of factors, but at the end it was just sort of the teammates getting it down the field to me.
And Corbin mentioned some of the names that are no longer with you: Gunston, McAvoy, Tom Mitchell, O'Meara, Shields. So when you roll up to the first day of pre-season, did it feel significantly different? And I guess all of a sudden you're one of the emerging leaders of the club.
Yeah, absolutely. It does feel different, but it feels different every year. There's always a lot of turnover at footy clubs, and yes, we're very young now, but we're not shying away from that fact, and we don't want to make excuses for our age. So, hopefully the boys can go out there and put in a strong effort.
Do you sort of have any expectations as to where you might be this season? Is it based around the development of the group rather than wins or losses? Has any of that been part of the dialogue leading into the season?
Not really. If you were to be within the four walls of the footy club, there's no talk of, we're going to be going for a flag in a few years' time. Everybody's really determined, and we're really bullish in the fact that we want to be playing high level of footy. So, hopefully we can do that this year.
Good on you, Mitch. Great to get some insights from you. Best of luck with the recovery, and can't wait to see you back on the park. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much. Cheers, boys.
Mitchie. Mitch Lewis joining us from the Hawks down on the boundary with Lauren Borden ahead of Hawthorn and Essendon on ABC Sport this afternoon. The other match taking place at the moment in the third quarter, it's the Adelaide Crows 8-13-61 to the Giants 6-9-45 midway through the third term. There is a call of that available on the ABC Listen app. Just click on the AFL Extra button, as you'll be able to do throughout the whole season. And it's been great to hear some of your dialogue come through on the SMS 0437 774 774 about the various places you're able to listen now on the ABC Listen app, both here in Australia and overseas. But Murph and Lids, I guess the question around Hawthorn, where we see them this season, they made the decision to really cut the list and build for the future. That's all good in theory, but then how does that come to fruition on a game day environment where you're trying to sell to supporters that it's going to be an enjoyable ride?
Yeah, I think that the hardest thing will be when games get tight or you get under the pump and lacking that experience that you can only get through playing games, can't you, and age. When they cut all those guys, that was a surprise to me. I thought they would have held on to a couple, and I think it might have actually been a bit of a surprise to Carl Amon. He goes, I didn't realise this was going to be a part of the deal where I'm coming in as the second or third oldest bloke. But look, I think how you sell it to the guys and to the supporters and members is that it's, come on this journey with us. We're starting from ground zero, essentially. Yeah, we might not win a heap of games this year, but you'll enjoy the way we're going to play, and you'll get some excitement and some joy out of watching these guys develop and being on that journey with them. So I'm excited to see what these young guys, and I saw Cam McKenzie firsthand over in that Tassie game. I thought he was fantastic. Josh Weddle's another one they've got coming through. Josh Ward, I like in the middle of the ground. Will Day, who I asked Mitch about. Connor McDonald, who he spoke about. There's some good young kids coming through, but it's just going to take some time, and I think we're all very well aware of that.
Is it a bit against the trend, though, when you look at clubs like Richmond who are recruiting Hopper and Taranto to come in to boost their midfield rather than almost completely rebuilding, trying to find ways to continually grow your list with salary cap when it's available?
Yeah, well, they're in different stages of their life, aren't they, those two clubs, in terms of where they're at. But I think in terms of the supporters, for Hawthorn supporters that we're talking about at the moment, if you're turning up to a game, you want to see a distinctive style and be proud of that style that your team's trying to play, and you're also wanting to see some of your young players really start to shine and take that next leap. There's some guys playing their first game, there's some guys playing their first game for the football club, some guys who have been around for 2 or 3 years, who now, under 12 months already of Sam Mitchell, now you want to see some more progression from certain guys. So you're wanting to come to the football expecting to see an improvement. I think when you're coming to the football and you're playing against Essendon as a Hawthorn fan and vice versa, you're probably expecting to try and win these games. These are the games that you want to come and win against the real premiership favourites. You just want to see an effort and a really hardened side. So I think today both supporters will be coming to the football thinking we're a chance of winning here, and you just want to see some excitement within that brand of football as well.
I mentioned as part of the interview, that all the talk is how fit they are, so they're going to hit this season very hard, and you get the feeling, given how young they are and how inexperienced, that there may be a stage that they fall over as the year goes on, but I think they're going to give a few teams a real shock because they'll be ready to go from the start of the season. So I reckon the first 8 weeks or so, I'd expect some really good stuff from Hawthorn. Just to put that into context, how much change there has been. So from the last time that we saw these two teams, it was within 12 hours or 20 hours of each other or whatever it was, the last Saturday and Sunday of the regular season last year. So Essendon played on the Saturday night against Richmond, lost by 11 goals. They've got 17 of the 23 backing up today. So there's 6 changes. There's no Hurley, Hind, Wright, Stringer, Reid or Guelphy. A lot of those guys injured, so they're still very much part of the program. And the new faces they've got today, Langford's back from injury, Harry Jones is back from injury, and Andrew Phillips has been recalled. And then Elwyn Davey Jr. is a new name. Setterfield's come across from Carlton and Wiedemann's come across from Melbourne. But Hawthorn, they've only got 11 players played their last fixture against the Western Bulldogs. So 12 changes. And the names down the list. So MP Warple, Reeves, Frost, Jaff, Bramble, Kazitsky, all didn't play that game, so they're just guys on the list that are now playing. But then the new faces to go alongside it. So Carl Amon coming from another club, Lloyd Meek coming across from Fremantle as a ruck option. You've got Fergus Green as part of that mix, obviously, coming in. He played for the Western Bulldogs back in 2018, has gone back to the VFL, kicked a boatload of goals for Box Hill and gets an opportunity again at AFL level. And Cam McKenzie, who's a top pick in last year's national draft. So a number of new faces mixed in, but that's a lot of changes, 12 from one game to the next, albeit with a whole summer in between.
Yeah, the one for me that stands out there is probably James Warple. You know, he won his best and fairest the year that Tom Mitchell broke his leg, then really struggled to get in and find any consistency, didn't he, in terms of the midfield mix. But now, since Tom's obviously moved on, Jager's moved on, he's nearly the stalwart in that.
Second body in there, isn't he? Yeah.
Because John Newcombe, albeit he's a mature body, he's only into his 3rd year of footy coming up. So, if someone wants to take control, it probably needs to be James Warple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And probably attends more centre bounces than just about anyone, Newcombe. But that's the part I'm interested about when you're wrestling between sort of James Warple, the here and the now, versus the potential of, someone who'll be around for the future in like Cam McKenzie, who's in his first year. And maybe Murph doesn't quite have the runs on the boarding, proving that he's ready to go in that position, but the potential that he can learn right from the outset and managing the performance over, I guess, the potential.
Yeah, and that's the mix that Sam Mitchell will have to work out what's best for Cam McKenzie and the Hawthorn Football Club. You want to give a guy experience in there. You don't want to burn him out too early. But it's a great opportunity for a young, exciting mid who I saw a bit of his under-18 football last year and was really excited by the way in which he goes about. He's really composed footballer, so I've got no doubt he'll step into the AFL world and look really assured, because guys who have got time at that level, they have time at AFL level. It's a seamless progression, I feel, and he stood out to me watching him last year coming through the ranks. But it's exciting to see these guys. It's we talked about Sheasel yesterday, and now we get to look at another few young guys, and Cam McKenzie's right up there amongst the top draft from last year. So there's no doubt every Hawthorn fan's coming here today is excited about watching that prospect run around.
Pick 7, by the way. Generally, just so happens there's some pretty good guys that have been taken at pick 7 over the years. There was a run there where they had a lot of rising star winners. So Jordan Lewis, as a guy that played obviously a lot of games, Andrew Mackey, Paddy Ryder, who was only just retired, all taken at pick 7. But Selwood was pick 7, of course. Reece Palmer, who won the Rising Star Award. Dan Rich, the year after him, picked up that award. Josh Caddy's obviously a premiership player. Nick Haynes is an All-Australian. Ollie Wines is a Brownlow medalist. And then in more recent times, Bailey Smith.
Yep.
Hayden Young from the Dockers. So everyone
going to be a good player.
Everyone wants to tell you he's a future All-Australian.
Yep.
And even Hawthorn have 3 pick 7s now from recent times on their list. So Scrimshaw was taken at pick 7, as was Josh Ward the year before, and now Cam McKenzie this year. So there's a nice little crop developing of pick 7s as such from the national draft.
You're good for those, aren't you? You love it.
Love the numbers. I do enjoy the stats.
Not that it's worth absolutely anything,
nothing,
but it's just an interesting sort of correlation between guys taken at pick 7.
All of a sudden, Adelaide's lead has been cut back to 4 points, so a bit of a move from the Giants in this third quarter. GWS 8-9-57 to Adelaide 8-13-61 in that match taking place from Giants Stadium. So 3 goals to Toby Green, 2-5 to Isaac Rankin, and a couple of goals to Hogan and Fogarty. So we'll keep you across that game throughout the afternoon. You can get in touch with us, as is always the case. 0437 774 774 is the SMS number throughout the AFL season. Murray from Malvern says, we all remember the Baby Bombers, so not as hard for a young team to play well. Can the Hawks make the top 10 this year?
No.
That's a no from Brett Delidio.
I've got them finishing last.
And that's a no from Mark Murphy.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Murray, they're pretty definitive.
What do we know? What do we know?
They'll be in the bottom four.
I like your suburb, though. It's a good area.
0437 774 774 if you want to get in touch with us via the SMS. Great to have your company on Grandstand AFL Sunday. There's no late changes for either side. Connor Nash is a sub for the Hawks and Anthony McDonald. Tipperwoody, great to see him back. Here's the sub for the Bombers this afternoon. In a moment, we'll head inside the Bombers camp. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC Listen.
So tell me, what's the question that people ask the most on the Dr. Carl podcast?
Everything in the entire universe, from hematology to biology to geology. Was there really a Big Bang? What happens when I have dark urine in the toilet? And finally, why is the sky blue?
But mainly just farts.
Lots of farts.
Dr. Carl and Dr. Lucy have all the answers on the Dr. Carl podcast. Find it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL. This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2023 AFL season.
AFL.
On radio, on digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
The floodlights are on at the MCG. Overcast conditions on a coolish Sunday afternoon for the opening weekend of footy. The crowd is building and the banners are starting to be set up in which Dylan Shield will run out for his 200th game for the Bombers this afternoon, and the two teams not too far away from making their way out. Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass to call the action. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy are your experts. Lauren Borden is the final member of our team, a chance to head inside the Bombers camp ahead of Brad Scott's first game as coach. Lauren, down to you.
I've got Daniel Gian Sirusa, assistant coach at Essendon. There have been a lot of changes since last season throughout all departments of the club, not just the head coach. With so many changes, what's it been like heading into this round one and trying to manage all those throughout the off-season?
No, it's been pretty normal once you get into pre-season. Obviously, there was a pretty big break before the players got back. So, but trying to build foundations with a new coach, we feel like we've done that, and we're excited for round one against, a rival in Hawthorn. So looking forward to the challenge.
And Brad Scott has said how he wants to lift the standards at the Bombers. How's that been shown across the off-season, and what will we see coming out of that today?
Oh, I think it's been well documented that we want to improve our defence. So first real opportunity, for 4 points today. So we feel like we're seeing things throughout the pre-season, but the test is when the pressure comes on against a Hawthorn team that will attack us in that area. They like to attack through the middle of the ground and like speed on the ball. So it's a great challenge for us, but one we're up for and looking forward to it.
Have you got any particular goals in total for your defensive unit that you'll be looking at after the game?
Oh, not really. I think that we want to do it collectively. It takes 18. If you look at our team, we've got some speed in our forward line and we need them to pressure, if not winning the ball themselves and kicking goals. So that'll be a catalyst for us to defend well, and that our back six can stay stable and the mids can help that. So we want to get the ball into our forwards, and if it is bouncing out, there's pressure on that ball so we can win it back and hopefully challenge the Hawthorn defence.
And Zach Merritt, well, he's been a leader for quite a long time. Now he's got the official job as the captain. Will that change his role on the field, or do you think he'll still continue being as vocal as he used to be?
No, I think he's been, an awesome player in the competition for a long time. With being the captain of the club, it adds a little bit to his weeks, I'm sure, because everyone's pulling him from pillar to post. But he's just gone about his business. Brad's message has been that you just control what you can, and that's been a really good player for us. Drive those standards that we spoke about, especially in the defensive area, and he's done that throughout the pre-season. He's been outstanding, and looking forward to him putting it out on the park today.
Daniel Gian Sirusa joining ABC Grandstand today. One of the tough moments leading into round one has been Peter Wright, wins the best and fairest last year, 4-year contract extension, and then dislocates his shoulder. It must be pretty tough for him now. How's he tracking?
Yeah, it's all happened really quickly. It was the last sort of main session before round one, which, is a bit of a shock and disappointment, but it was funny. I was talking to Brad and he was like, oh, you forget that you go through these moments as a senior coach. So disappointing for Pete, but, what it does is create another opportunity. We'll support him the best we can, and hopefully he's out there soon.
Are there any other moments that Brad Scott has kind of come out, now he's back from the AFL, back into clubland, and thought, geez, I forgot this happens at clubs?
Oh, that's the main one that I've talked about. Like, these things pop up. You feel like you're pretty healthy going into round one, and a guy was really innocuous. He falls over and his shoulder pops out. But I'm sure there's ones that'll come up throughout the journey, and even the stresses of the coach's box and how you react to certain situations. But again, we've got a really supportive coaching group that will keep putting our options up and giving him theories on how we want it to work, and then he'll be the key decision maker. But I think he's fitted in seamlessly. He's done it before. He knows what he's doing, so he'll be excited for the challenge as well.
I guess it means you've had to come up with some more options for the forward line, with Jake Stringer also not playing today, but you do have your new recruit in Sam Wiedemann who can come in there. Will that be the plan today? Yeah,
it's a great opportunity for Weeds. He's been brought to the club for a reason. Again, another one that's acquitted himself really well throughout the pre-season. We're obviously playing 2 rucks, so Andrew Phillips and Drapes will play down there a little bit as well, and Harry Jones is a different type of threat for the opposition. So the key for today is that we gel really well, but we get them access from a midfield group that's hopefully pushing the ball forward, and that'll continue to build and evolve, and it's exciting. We've got some small forwards. Alwyn Davies been outstanding. Jai Menzies earned his place in the team, so we think we've got enough threats down there to really challenge the Hawthorn defence.
Alwyn Davies Senior, I've just seen him walking along the ground here for his son's debut. His son seems like quite a quietly spoken person. What's he like around the club?
Yeah, he is. He goes about his business. He's worked really hard on his game. There's a little bit of cheek there, as there is with probably all small forwards, but it's done in the right way. He's really respectful. He's a sponge and wants to learn all the time. He's connected really well with Dale Tapping, our forward line coach. So I think the crowd's going to like him. You'll hear it. You'll hear about when he's chasing players down, and hopefully he hits the scoreboard as well.
And just a word on Dylan Shield, 200th game today. He always seems to be on the back pages of the paper, and he was dropped last year, came back. What's he like? We hear a lot about of him outside the club, but what's he like? What's the role he plays at Essendon?
It's a great achievement, 200 games. Not many play that. I've been at the footy club going into my 3rd year. He's probably one of the most professional guys I've seen in the game. So, but he had challenges last year, and it was a true testament to himself that he was able to show resilience and play a really strong back half of the year. So he's committed to being involved in a really strong midfield group, and he's shown that over the pre-season. He's rock hard fit and ready to go, and again, another one we're expecting to challenge the Hawthorn midfielders in there today.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for your time, Daniel. Good luck today.
No worries. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks to Daniel. Gian Sirusa chatting there with Lauren Borden as the Bombers made their way out onto the MCG, led by Zach Merritt for the first time, and Dylan Shield right there alongside him in game 200. 7 years at the Giants, his 5th year at the Bombers. An All-Australian in 2017. He gets to mark his milestone in front of what should be a crowd of around 60,000 here for the opening Sunday of the AFL season between Hawthorn and Essendon. Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass calling the action. Lauren Borden down on the boundary. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy are your experts. Approaching 3/4 time at Giants Stadium. 3-point lead the way of the Adelaide Crows, with the Giants making the move in this 3rd quarter, having kicked 5-3 to Adelaide's 1-1. Looks like there's a bit going on in terms of a concussion scare there, Lids.
Yeah, just a nice big hit, actually. I'm not sure whether it'll be looked at or not. He's a bit rattled, the young bloke from the Giants, but went straight through. We haven't seen a replay just yet, so I can't tell you too much more.
And the Hawks are just a few moments away from making their way out onto the MCG. So just your thoughts on the Bombers. 10 years for Brad Scott as coach of North Melbourne. A couple of years out of the system, having last coached North Melbourne in 2019. He's been at the AFL. It'll be interesting to see what his fingerprints look like at the Bombers.
Yeah, that's right. I think from all reports, the boys feel like they're really clear on the direction and what Brad is expecting, but it's a bit of a testing year, I think, in that he wants to see what he's got in terms of his players, who's willing to put their hand up and play the style of footy that he wants. So it'll be very interesting to see what it's like in terms of their mix in the midfield. We know they're very good offensively. They can go with the best of them in terms of when they're up and firing, but it's going back the other way on turnover, and can they apply enough pressure to the opposition? Now, they're not going to come up against the most experienced midfield today, Murph, are they, in terms of Hawthorn? But, can the Hawks test them out to really see what Essendon are made of? I don't know. It's going to be a great game in terms of 2 young teams going at it, but I've tipped the Bombers, but I'm not with a great amount of confidence, Murph.
No, you're right. The class is there for Essendon. You talk about Zach Merritt, Dylan Shield, Darcy Parish, Jai Caldwell, Will Setterfield. It's a pretty good nucleus of midfielders in there.
Yep.
But it's about well, how are they going to go about it? Are they going to run and dash and take them on and try and score at all costs, or are they going to be really dour in defence and then try and score off that? It goes without saying you want to be hard around the ball and win their clearances. Be interesting to see how they go in that department, but I think from Essendon's point of view, an Essendon fan, they want to see a really hardened midfield, and they want to see them really tackle with aggression, be hard at the contest, and then just try and overlap and run and actually go at the game, because the times in which I watched them last year at Essendon, they've got enough talent, enough scoring ability through that midfield to really put an opposition to the sword, but it's a matter of actually going at the game and actually backing yourself in.
Yep.
So that's what I want to see from them today.
A couple of Brad Scott's comments from Friday's presser. We won't sacrifice long-term journey for a short-term sugar fix. Jake Stringer is available. He's getting the work into him sooner rather than later. Is he ready? He's not fully conditioned, not ready to compete for 125 minutes. We need a cultural shift. We need players who set the standard with professionalism. Sam Wiedemann and Will Setterfield have done that, hence why they're playing. And we need to shift some of the cultural stuff. For a long time, we haven't been the best team in it, but there's a lot of work to do to bring the stability in which everyone is craving. So he's very much laying down the line as to what he expects.
Yeah, and he is, and you want that, and you want to hear that from your senior coach, because if one of your better players isn't at the level physically, then you're not going to pick him. That sets a standard for everyone else on the list to go, well, just because you've got talent and you've got the ability and you could be anything, but unless you want to be at a really professional level and a really high standard for yourself and set that, then you're not going to play. So I think that's a good lesson for all these players and anyone that's on that list, that if you're not going to toe the line, you're not where you need to be personally, physically, then you're not going to play. So I know there's a few real professional players in that side who I think would have an input into that decision as well.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I don't think you can have a hierarchy in terms of how you treat certain players based on their skill level and their talent. I think you still need to have, in terms of preparation, you need to have that almost one-size-fits-all thought process. So, I like it, and I think Jake's probably the one where you can just say, right, mate, well, we're going to make a bit of an example here, and you're going to put the work in, you're going to get yourself fit before you come back, and it's not going to be before.
Yeah.
And we'll see whether they're willing to do that, and I think in his messaging, that's what they're going to do, Clinchy.
And there's no doubt that those conversations would have been had to Jake Stringer as well.
Well, you hope so.
Well, there's no way they're going to come out and make a comment like that without saying that to your player.
What do you think of Dylan Shields' comments, though? For him coming out and saying, look, I think we need to celebrate the strengths of someone rather than shame them for what they're not good at, speaking about Jake Stringer, which sort of almost feels like somewhat at odds with what Brad Scott's trying to reinforce, which is, hey, if you're not ready to go, you're not playing.
Yeah, I just think players are probably a little bit more cautious about being...
Especially their own teammates. What do you want him to bag him and say, mate, no, you're fat and unfit, you can't play because...
That's someone for the coach. It's not one for me.
Yeah.
I don't understand what Jake's fitness program looks like. Players deflect all the time.
Yeah, that's what things are deflection.
But I don't know. It feels like the club's a little sensitive around the commentary on that front, which... If that's what they're dealing with, I'd almost prefer Brad's approach, which is this is what it is. This is what we're doing. And if Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody's in the same boat. I'm sure he'd love to be in the starting team today. Instead, he's the Medi sub because he's
underdone.
He's underdone.
Yeah, well, you'd be hoping that Dylan Shields, one of the leaders of that football club, and he's the ultimate professional, as you know, Lids.
Yep.
You'd be thinking that he'd be having conversations with Jake Stringer and anyone who's not towing the line about their physical capabilities at the moment if they're not putting in the effort. But maybe publicly, I think a lot of players, they like to support their teammates.
No, you don't need to give anyone any ammunition on the outside. We don't know. No one knows what they're saying on the inside. So you can only assume, you can only hope as an Essendon supporter, Corb, that they're having those direct and honest conversations. But, we don't know. But I like the fact that someone sticks up for their teammate outside, because you don't need to give anyone, particularly social media enthusiasts,
there's enough people coming.
Any more ammunition.
Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating first season for Brad Scott. Looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds, starting here at the MCG. Where will Andrew McGrath play? Will he still stay across half-back?
I think so.
Will we see Dyson Heppel still in defence? There's a few questions with the new coach as to will there be anything we're not expecting this afternoon? And Sam Wiedemann gets another crack. Will Setterfield gets another go at a different club? So how will that all implement together?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if there's some slight changes with personnel playing different positions. I'd personally like to see Andy McGrath stay off a half-back flank, and if he's needed to inject some pace into that midfield, then you go in there from bits and pieces. But I see him, I made sort of a few comments about him last year, sort of likening him to a Sam Doherty off a half-back line. He can be your real general down there and get the ball flowing and really run off a half-back flank and use the ball through the corridor, because I believe he's such a good user and sees the game really well in front of him. Will Setterfield's another one that I played a little bit of football with, and I think he played some great footy for Carlton towards the back half of last season. His last probably 3 or 4 weeks were really good, but I think at that point in time they decided to move on with Will. But from all reports I've heard, he's been training the house down and done really well, and I think he adds a bit of grunt through that midfield.
And size, mate, because look how small they are across their mids. Like he adds at least someone who's above 185.
He does, and I think they were crying out for someone who's got a bit of height in there who gives them a different look, and he was really aggressive, especially in the last 2 games for Carlton last year against Collingwood and Melbourne, and played his best 2 games for the football club, I thought. So I think he should come in really confident about what he can deliver for this football side, but also just really confident about his own ability. He's come off a knee earlier on in his career, and all reports from when he first got drafted, he was an absolute superstar. So it's taken him a little bit of time to get that confidence back in his body, but I feel that the way in which he finished off last year, I think we're going to see some good signs from Will Setterfield.
Are you surprised there wasn't a spot for him on Carlton's list?
Very surprised, I was. Yeah, I thought
probably already had Blake Acres in his seat.
Acres was coming in.
Yeah, well, I think on Carlton's probably side, they've got a lot of tall mids in their team, which just sort of didn't lend to having another Will Setterfield. But I was still surprised not to see him try and get almost traded for something. He was sort of just given away, really, because there was no list spot for him. So I was surprised, but not surprised to see him going really well at the moment, especially from what I'm hearing over the pre-season. Looking forward to seeing what he's capable of today.
The voice of Mark Murphy alongside Brett Delidio with you on Grandstand AFL Sunday. Meanwhile, at Giants Stadium, Josh Rochelle with his second goal. It gives Adelaide a 5-point advantage, 10-16-76 to GWS 10-11-71. There is an ABC call available via the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL Extra button, and we will be on the AFL button if you're looking to tune in on the AFL Listen app. Great to have that edition for season 2023. The final preparations taking place out on the middle of the MCG. James Sicily leading out the Hawks, having acted in that role in the second half of the season, and Zach Merritt leading the Bombers in season 2023. So Murph and Lids, a few final thoughts as to who you expect is going to win this afternoon, and maybe a couple of the matchups you're looking forward to across the afternoon.
Yeah, the one matchup I am keen to see is where does Finn McGuinness go? I think he's done a pretty good tagging role on Nick Dacos during the pre-season games. Comes from half forward and then comes in, so doesn't necessarily start in the starting mix, but comes from half forward and clamps down. I think it'll be Zach Merritt, given that the captain, he's the one who's most prolific in terms of ball use and ball winning ability. Parrish sometimes, maybe, and Shield, I don't think he'll go there, so I think it'll be Finn McGuinness in that one. The other one is just probably up forward for Essendon. Obviously missing their key mover in Big Pete Wright. Can they get enough goals out of Harry Jones and Sam Wiedemann? I'm keen to see how those two big boys work and how they go together.
I'm actually just looking forward to seeing the midfield duel as a whole. I believe it's going to be won and lost in there, and that's the reason why I'm choosing Essendon today. I just feel that they bat a bit deeper. There's probably more offensive weapons in there, probably more senior and more experience in there. So you talk the likes of Zach Merritt, Dylan Shield, Darcy Parish, Will Setterfield, Jai Caldwell versus Jai Newcomb, James Warple, Josh Ward, Cam McKenzie, Will Dyer, Carl Lehman. So for me, they've just got too many weapons through that midfield that I think will really cause some havoc for Hawthorn. It's going to be interesting to see how they go about it, these two sides. I'm interested to see how hard they want to defend Essendon, because that's been the knock on them for a number of years, and how hard they're willing to dig in and work back the other way and then try and slingshot and try and score off the back of it. So I think it's going to be a game in the midfield where we'll find out a fair bit about these sides.
Last 8 seasons, the best that Essendon has been ranked for defending ball movement is 12th. Last 3 seasons, they've been in the bottom 2. So talk about how they defend, Murph. That, as you said, it's been a weakness of theirs for almost a decade.
Well, I think it's going to be hard to judge now, because Brad Scott's had his hands on them for how long? Not very long. Yes, there'll be some improvements, but don't expect them to be Ross Lyon-esque 2009-10.
There might be some system breakdowns, but I think you want to see an effort from certain blokes to really put in the hard yards defensively.
The final member of our team is sitting in the front row this afternoon, and we've already heard from her. Lauren Borden, welcome back to you.
Thanks, Clinchy. Nice to be down here again. It is pleasant conditions, even though it does look a little overcast here. We haven't got rain forecast. About 18 degrees. The only thing cooling it down is a slight breeze, though, that's coming and swirling across the ground like it does at the MCG so often. It was James Sicily, now in his full-time role as captain, that won the toss in the long sleeves as well. And he's got the Hawks kicking to the city end of the MCG as we get this match underway between the two rivals. Of course, it's Connor Nash for Hawthorn as a sub, and McDonald Woody back for his first game in nearly 600 days, sitting on the Essendon bench at the moment.
Thanks, Lauren. Lauren Borden down on the boundary. So the scene is set, Hawthorn and Essendon. Grandstand AFL Sunday for round one. Who can take a valuable 4 points from the opening weekend of footy? Here's Corbin Middlemass to get us underway.
It'll be Reeves and Draper to go at it as the Yellow Sharons whacked into the turf, and Draper gets the first hit out down to Shield in his 200th. Hand pass to Parrish. There's a free kick coming back, a hold, and it's going Warple's way. So Hawthorn will get the centre break, and the break's put on the Bombers. Out of the centre, long kick from Warple to the hot spot. Bruce forced to spoil, spills down to Ridley, tackled immediately by Kajitsky. And a ball up 40 metres out from the Hawks' goal at the city end.
As I thought, McGuinness straight to Merritt, coming from half forward.
Merritt, Parrish and Shield all starting in the middle with Draper. Draper another hit out, releases McGrath outskirts of the stoppage. Links up with Langford, kicks to half-back. Perkins got a hand on it. Spills through the Bombers' way. Here's Menzies, kicks down the boundary line. Hands on it from Wiedemann. He got a shove in the back. Right in front of the Hawthorn interchange. Takes it on halfway, the new Bomber.
Kicks inboard to Parrish, who takes the mark. Has to push back behind and veers out to the right. Sends the Bombers inside 50, looking for Jones. Set himself, couldn't complete the mark. Front and centre, Hawks have the numbers through Moore. His hand pass backwards, almost picked off by Davey. Hardwick provides the pressure and sees him over the boundary line. A throw in under the Olympic stand in the left forward pocket for the Bombers.
Elwyn Davey Jr., as you called there, Clinchy, the teenager. Pick 45 in last year's national draft, a father-son selection. His twin brother Jaden also picked up. Both the sons, of course, of Elwyn Davey from the boundary throw-in. Wiedemann's kick smothered. Ricochets out to Frost. Hand passed hurriedly to Jaff, and he fumbles out of play. So a throw-in 40 out from the Bombers' goal, left half forward.
Be interesting to see how the Essendon midfielders handle the tag on Merritt. Do they get around, support him, block him, give him the ball?
Cam McKenzie on debut for Hawthorn, the 19-year-old, picked 7 in the draft. And the boundary throw-in, Reeves again with the ruck work down to Warple. Hand pass to Jaffe, links up with Newcomb, drives a kick down the members' wing, no one back, and Kelly takes the intercept mark for Essendon.
He turns and looks into the corridor, works it back to Laverty, who has Ridley free across half-back. He's got a vacant southern wing as he looks up further afield. The leads come, Perkins leads into space, takes the mark in front of Ward. Essendon now look to move forward afield, kicks out wide. The mark is taken by Menzies. Has it between wing and half forward. Bombers with a chance to go inside 50 for the second time. Kicks to Jones, who leads up at the footy. He's still a good 2 kicks out from goal. Out wide at right half forward. He's got Durham deep. Wiedemann as well, sets it into that path. Draper's gone forward as well, setting himself. Reeves in front, got hands to it, then tries to thump it away, hasn't cleared the congestion. Newcomb lost it. Reeves with a hand pass to Warple, jams it onto the boot, gets it out of the defensive 50. Tough bounce for Laverty. It trickles back to Ridley. He reloads for the Bombers.
Ridley got a couple to beat, slides around 2 and then sends a hand pass all the way back to Zerk Thatcher, who kicks it inside the forward 50. Draper down there, hands to it. Reeves spoils. The Bombers had it, lost it through Perkins. Now Newcomb grabs it. He's locked up by Davey. Umpire says, I'll have it. 25 out from the Essendon goal. Throw a blanket over really 30 players around the footy here. Reeves palms it down, decisive touch. Bombers first one there though, comes out to Redmond, other end of the ground. Hand pass, releases Langford, gets his right peg free, shoots goalward but misses. Out to the right, first score of the game, 3.5 minutes in and Essendon behind. No late change, the 2 subs, Connor Nash for Hawthorn, Anthony McDonald. Tippin Woody back for his first game since late 2021. The sub for Essendon.
3/4 time at Giants Stadium. Adelaide leading by 5 points over GWS. Sicily brings the Hawks back into play. Bounces off Green. Tough one for Kelly, trying to spin out of a tackle from Moore. Somehow knocked it out to the advantage of Carl Amon on debut, the former power midfielder. Kicks over the head of Chad Wingard. Working back is Zerk Thatcher. Gets there first for the Bombers. Hand pass over the head of McGrath. Pinched by Moore. Hand pass to Bruce. Back to Wingard. Vacant goalmouth. He goes for home. Ignored Kajitsky. And misses to the right-hand side. A goal apiece The Bombers with 4 inside 50s to 2 in the opening 4 minutes here at the MCG.
Dons play on hurriedly. Out of the goal square, Ridley tries to draw the defender, does so eventually, gives it to Laverty, hand pass out to Parrish, and he connects with Shield, chips the ball down the wing, Perkins takes the mark. Just on the defensive side of halfway, scores level, 4.5 in. The game's still looking for its first goal. Overcast, cool day in Melbourne, temperature at 21, and that's about as high as it's going to get. Down to half forward, Wiedemann trying to take a one-hander, unsuccessful. Warple locked up by Wiedemann, couldn't take the mark. He followed up with a defensive act and wins back possession for Essendon. Short kick to Perkins, outer edge of the centre square to centre half forward and hits up Redmond, who takes the mark right on the 50-metre arc. He'd probably back himself in from here. He is a long kick of the footy.
Yeah, you're right, Corb. It's usually a set play for him just to scoot around the back here, get a handball receive. So maybe he needs a handball to himself and see whether he can just launch, get a couple of touches.
Had a sensational year last year. He was tipped by a few to win the BNF. He ended up finishing top 5. He arcs around to the right here, gets a Shepherd for the man of the mark, and you can't do that. Dylan Shield trying to block.
Gets another
on
shot at
Newcombe.
Yeah, you got to wait for play on.
And the man on the mark can't move.
So that was a silly play, wasn't it?
Yeah, he'll get the reload again, Redmond. The kick didn't get there for what it's worth. And the long delay as the Yellow Sharon is finally returned to Redmond. Hawthorn home game, so Hawks in their traditional strip. The brown and gold stripes with the brown shorts, and Essendon in the black jumper with the red sash and the white shorts. He comes straight in on the straight line, Mason Redmond. That's the way to do it. Kicks a cannon from 55 for the first goal of the game. Essendon draw first blood. 1-1, Hawthorn 1 behind, 6 minutes in. Grandstand AFL, Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
I'm not sure why he didn't go back that far initially.
Yeah.
Because he certainly had the length.
Yeah, that's what we're saying before. Is it's a set play for him. He only had to act like it was that set play again, handball receive and run in. But he smacked that beautifully. Just watching Zach Merritt there, Murph. Yeah. It's I think we remember tagging you round 1 a long time ago now. What's it like mentally when you've done all that work, you know you're fit, and then you get someone come and clamp you?
Well, you sort of know at the centre bounce when the guy walks across and puts his arm across that you know, well, for the first 5 or 6 minutes here, I'm just going to run myself into the ground. And that's exactly what Zach Merritt's done so far. So Finn McGuinness has done a good job so far, but it's only just the beginning.
Cam Mackenzie now alongside him for this bounce as Draper rises high, wins down the tap, but it's Newcombe for the Hawks. Hand pass away to Mackenzie, back to Newcombe, gets the clearance out to the members wing. Down low for McDonald, takes the mark. Hand pass missed Impey, just needs to find a way past Menzies. Kicks inside 50, up early. Laverty couldn't take the mark. Zert Thatcher wins it. Gets the hand pass to Setterfield in his new colours. It's coming back. Hardwick courageously not paid the mark as Newcombe picks it up for the Hawks. Hand pass away. Meek feeds the hand pass away to Day. Flying shot on goal. No. In the end, pulled his kick. Missed Kaczynski. And the mark is taken by Zert Thatcher in the back pocket for the Bombers.
Across the goal face to Laverty, who marks. Now he's just going to go on a bit of a trot. Kick out of the defensive arc. Up towards Jones, who takes the mark. Got the blue boots on. He's got the hair tied up too. He's got the top knot. A hand pass out wide to Ridley. Short kick. Up to the wing, and Setterfield takes the mark. Now at his 3rd club.
Just going back to Zach Merritt, it's a genuine run with, isn't it?
Yep.
He's not even playing in a zone, McGuinness, just following Merritt everywhere.
Kicks to Nick Martin, middle of the ground. What a round 1 he had last year. Short to Perkins. Marks, plays on, steps around Newcombe, kicks to the top of the goal square. In front, Heppel can't take the mark. Falls down underneath Durham, and he's locked up. And a ball up 12 metres out from the Essendon goal. What's the theory if you're doing the run with that you don't start at the centre bounce? Like, why wouldn't he
so
have
they can have their best players
in there?
Yeah, and then come in from outside.
Draper one down the tap. Parrish couldn't get a hand pass away. It's a hot footy and there's nowhere to go. As Mackenzie lays the tackle,
it's such an important part of the ground, the centre square, so you want to have your best key players in there playing.
You don't want to be locking away in there.
Yeah.
Thrown up, Draper tries to take it out of the ruck against Meek. It spills to Caldwell, throws it on the boot and steers it through from the top of the goal square. Straight to the high fives to Sam Draper. Some good craftsmanship there between Ruckman and Rover, and Caldwell did the rest. The Bombers with the opening 2 goals, 2-1-13 to Hawthorn, 1 behind. 9 minutes gone, opening term on ABC Sport.
Nice work there from Caldwell, but that's 2 450 stoppages where the one prior to that was Langford getting a shot on goal. So it's a few alarm bells there for Hawthorn's midfielders and defenders that they just need to get arm across and just really defend like your life depends on it, because been a couple of bobble balls and it's just fallen the way of Essendon inside their forward 50 and had relatively 2 easy shots on goal.
Yeah, CJ just lost, Giath, I should say, lost touch and feel with Caldwell and just allowed him goal side way too easily. Yeah. We know what you can do offensively, CJ, but we just need to see a little bit more, a bit harder edge defensively.
A couple of goals for the Giants through Cornelio and Green. They now lead the Adelaide Crows 12-11-83 to 10-16-76.
Phillips wins the hit out at the restart, down to Parrish, links up with Merritt, kicks inside 50, but Sicily takes the intercept mark, half back for Hawthorn. Queuing up back in the corridor, big Lloyd Meek takes the mark, the former Docker. Hand pass forward to Ward, slow to get rid of it, he's mowed down. Great chase down tackle from Sammy Durham, who had to come from 10 metres away and got him. Wins it back for the Bombers. And he kicks out wide to McGrath. McGrath goes shorter still out to that southern boundary line for Ridley. Pokes the pass to Nick Martin. Had 27 and 5 on debut in round 1 last year. Got a rising star nom in a team that was beaten by 11 goals. He kicks into the pocket. Phillips is down there, hands to it, no mark. CJ underneath it for the Hawks. Pack forms behind him. Jones ushers it out for the Bombers, but straight to Jaff. He hands it away to Blank, who links up with Sicily, and Sicily shanks one. Out of bounds on the full. And the Bombers will get it back at high half forward. And a free kick to come to Nick Martin.
No left boot there, Corb. Trying to go the right foot. Bunana hit the middle of the ball and she went to the second tier.
Hawthorn captain in the long sleeves this afternoon, as Martin has it where the boundary line meets the 50. Centering kick. Looking towards Davey, who flies in the pack. Hardwick from behind brought it down. Parrish trying to tap it to his own advantage. Kazitsky got involved for the Hawks. Hand pass into the corridor. Wingard's away. Thought about the hand pass to McDonald. Now kicks off the outside of the boot. It missed Green. It sets it up for Kelly, who runs onto it for the Bombers. Looks up to the southern wing. And Durham on the lead takes the mark.
A 21-year-old mid-season pickup back in 2021. He's now a mainstay in this team. Durham as he heads down to half forward. And Caldwell takes a nice mark in front of Impey. Kicked the second goal of the match, the last one of the game. Essendon 2-1. Hawthorn 1 behind, 12 minutes in. Floodlights on, overcast day in Melbourne. Kicks to the hot spot. Perkins had a fair piece of it. Can't take it though. Spills down to Phillips. Tackled, lost it. Eamon likewise. Davey squeezed the kick out, but straight to Newcomb. Jones out after him. Almost got him. Hand pass to Day, who just stops to a walk at half back for Hawthorn.
Looks into the corridor. It's a risky kick. It's wide of Fergus Green. It bounces towards Wingard. Clean pickup. Hand pass to Green. Kicks out wide to Moore. Hawthorn on the break. Kelly's loose. They have no one further afield. So Moore has to bide his time. Waits for players to stream past. Then chips it looking for Green. It's over his fingertips. And Kelly gathers for the Bombers. Hand pass to Zirk Thatcher. He's relieving kick. Picked off. And Jarman Impey down low takes the mark. Right half forward for the Hawks. He's going to come back into the corridor. Spots up James Sicily. Still a good 2 kicks out from goal, heading to the city end in this opening term.
Run another shot.
He probably could now. Sicily loads up from outside 50. It's across the face and just missing to the right-hand side. A minor score. The Hawks are 2 behind. Essendon 2-1-13. 13 minutes gone, opening term.
Talk us through that, Murph.
Is that young Perkins?
Yeah, it was. Perkins is stepping off the mark that they do these days, but not when the bloke's within 55.
No.
And it's Sicily.
He can kick that range every day as Parrish out of the defensive arc, heads to the wing, and Blank just a little nudge on Jones, gives away a free kick, and Harry Jones to take it for Essendon.
I think Brad Scott will be pretty happy with what he's seeing so far. They're stretching the ground really well and opening up nice pockets of space to work into at the moment.
Short to Laverty, short to McGrath. The switch is on. Across the half-back line to Ridley. He sends Essendon down to half forward, and Zirk Thatcher creeping down there, taking Wingard with him. He marks against the boundary line. 70 out in that launch pad. 12-point lead for the Bombers. They've kicked the only 2 goals of the game. Sends it into the forward pocket. Durham leaping from the back. Spills front and centre to Perkins. Tackled, lost it. McKenzie passing through for the Hawks. Hand pass to Jaff. He goes out wide to Impey. Feeds it back to Amon. A former Port Adelaide footballer kicks down the boundary line, and arriving late, Ridley knocks it out of bounds. Forces the neutral ball between wing and half forward for the Bombers.
Forgot to mention before, Corb, that when we did try to tag Murph, he got 36. So that's why I set him up for that. I was hoping he was going to say, yeah, I dominated.
It's a long time ago, Lids.
At Giant Stadium, GWS leading the Adelaide Crows by 8 points. Toby Green with another shot for his 5th. He's missed. McKenzie for the Hawks gets the clearance. Up towards half forward. Green was outnumbered 2-on-1. He crashes the pack. Wins the footy on 50. Eyes the goals. Great finish. The former dog from the Box Hill Hawks, and they come from everywhere to celebrate. What a great way to start his second comings and Hawthorn's first goal of season 2023. An important goal in the context, as the Bombers had a lot of footy inside their forward 50. The margin is back to 5. Essendon 2-1-13 to Hawthorn 1-2-8. 15 minutes gone. Opening term on ABC Sport.
What a great little play, wasn't it, Murphy's ability to halve that contest, 2v1. Something out of nothing. They've looked a little bit at sea up in the front half. They've really lacked some forward presence. A couple of times they've been coming through the middle of the ground, not having anyone to kick to, but great job just to make a contest. We see the first bit of Cam McKenzie being able to explode away from that stoppage and get it to that contest that we spoke about.
Well done, great goal. Zirk Thatcher were the two Bombers defenders who made a bit of a meal of it in the end.
Great story. 4 years out of the AFL system. Back for his 6th game, Fergus Green. After some great performances in the VFL, as Shield out of the middle, gets the centre break but turns it over. Sicily takes the intercept mark in front of Wiedemann. The half-back for Hawthorn. Short kick to Warple.
It's exactly where the Bombers don't want to go out of a centre square bounces to Sicily, who's going to set up and try and intercept all day.
Warple and the famous number 5 goes down the wing, hands on it from Reeves on the way through, spills to Bruce. Bruce picks it up, kicks inside the forward 50 for Hawthorn, bouncing away in the forward pocket, Kaczynski out after it in the ball, and he, along with Zirk Thatcher, all end up out of play, a throw in 35 out from the Hawks goal.
We've talked about the effort of Green to be able to correct that contest, so Sammy Wiedemann's just got to do whatever he can to get that to ground. He's got 5 or 6 centimetres on Sicily, just do what you can.
Inside 50s, 12-8, the Bombers' way. Draper wins down the tap. Shield can't get a kick away. Setterfield tried to spin out of traffic, lost it. Warple onto it for the Hawks. Veers out to the right. Long-range shot. Misses to the left-hand side. Hawks fans in the Olympic stand are up. They liked it from long range. Just faded late, and a minor score. 5-point lead. Made that 4-point lead the Bombers' way as we tick past 17 minutes.
Dons want to go quickly out of defence as Nick Martin links up with Redmond, kicks down the wing. Durham flying for it, no mark, spills to Menzies. Hand pass out to Langford. Right on halfway for Essendon. Kicks to honour the lead of Wiedemann, who hits up and takes the mark. The former Demon. Short kick to Martin. Reels in the one-hander. They're on here, Essendon. Numbers inside 50. The kick into the pocket went to the worst spot possible. And Frost reads it the best. Takes the mark despite the loose man forward for the Bombers. Hawthorn back the other way. Day marks at half-back. Links up with Warple. Kicks into the middle of the ground. Turns it over. And under pressure, Merritt feeds a hand pass back to Redmond for the Dons.
Sums up the options. Switches towards the outer southern wing. Up went Laverty, didn't complete the mark. Now he has to deal with Ward and Moore. Trying to sock it off the ground. Langford, Caldwell it was in the end. He's now over the foot. He needed to knock it clear. Got it to Martin. Trying to swat it on the Bombers as they try to gain valuable territory. A free kick for a hold. And it's going Hawthorn's way.
Phillips.
Cam McKenzie is getting the free kick. The first-year Hawk sends it out wide, and Dylan Moore takes the mark at left half-back. Essendon by 4 points.
Moore kicks down the wing for Hawthorn, and Meek hitting up to take the mark. Got it around his waist. Hand pass to McDonald. Kicks to centre half forward. Kelly had it, lost it. Great work. Kaczynski gets rid of it, gets rid of the player and wins the footy. Tumbles a kick goalward, but it misses. And all of a sudden, the Hawks with a bit of momentum. 1-4, Essendon 2-1. The Bombers by 3 points, approaching time on in this opening quarter.
Yeah, they've worked themselves back into the game. They just lacked a little bit of composure looking forward. They could have hit up one or two and had an easier set shot on goal, but unfortunately just missed it.
Redmond into Shield in game 200, sends it up to the wing. Wiedemann competes, got it down to Caldwell. The hand pass to Parrish, tries to put it out in front of Phillips. Big bounding ruckman, pushes forward and Frost pushes in across the boundary line for a throw-in. Bombers by 3 points on the SMS 0437 774 774. Dan loving the call and loving having my Hawks back. Carl in the brown and gold. And Mick says, g'day grandstand team, really enjoying having footy back, listening to you via the mighty 594 AM transistor. Well, Mick, if you can never get that, the ABC Listen app is now your home. Here's a chance for Setterfield. Carl Amon picked off the hand pass of the Hawks. Got it to Warple, to Reeves, and now to Day.
Day hand pass inboard to Impey off the back flank. Tries to shake the Perkins tackle. Got it to McDonald. Still in Hawthorn's hands. Here's Amon through the middle of the G. Links up with Ward. Kicks inside the forward 50. Backpedaling Bruce. Over his head. Zerk Thatcher knocks it down for Essendon. To Kelly. Hands it back to Zerk Thatcher. Hand pass to Laverty. And by hand the Bombers can work it out of defence. Nick Martin loops the ball over the top to Langford. Still at half-back. Kicks down the southern wing. Caldwell trying to reel in the one-hander. Unsuccessful. Frost puts his head over it. Tackled by Perkins. Got a little kick away off his backside. And Hawthorn up over halfway. Ward gives it to Amon. Short kick to Day. He marks between wing and half-forward southern side.
He looks to feed the hand pass on as Hawthorn head inside 50. Carl Amon takes the shot on goal. It's a good kick. Welcome to the brown and gold. On the run, on the outside, able to finish with pure class. Hawthorn take the lead for the first time this afternoon as they lead by 3 points. 2-4-16 to Essendon, 2-1-13. We've played 20 minutes in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, that's exactly why they've gone out and recruited him, isn't it? So he's had 6 disposals to start the game, and just the run and carry and finding space, and his ball use is exactly why they've gone out and got him from Port Adelaide. But I've actually just enjoyed the way in which the Hawthorn over the past probably 7 or 8 minutes have just found their way back into the game. They're sharing the ball really well. They're just seeing the first option and hitting it, just keeping it really simple. But it looked like at the start of the game they were going to get almost run over. So to fight back and just find a way around the contest and then to use the ball the way in which they have, it's been really good to see.
That other game, Clinchy, GWS 12-13, lead in Adelaide 10-16, so 9-point lead for the Giants coming from behind there as Warple out of the middle, links up with young McKenzie, hits up Wingard, can't mark, follows up, spin move, sells the dummy, Wingard for an early mark of the goal of the year. What a piece of individual class. Trademark Chad Wingard, as he took them all on and then finished on the run. Hawthorn with their ends up here. They move to 3-4-22. Essendon 2-1-13. Time on in the opening term.
Well, there's a bit in that. I love little Cam McKenzie's kick inside 50. It was beautiful, and then should have almost been a mark, but Chad Wingard, there's been some talk of the turf out there being a little bit sketchy. Well, not then. I haven't seen someone move like that all weekend and just put on a little bit of a display. 1-2 Candy, pirouette. We do love a little pirouette.
Oh, how good was that?
4 for the left.
Goal of the year. It's been called already from Mark Murphy. We've only got
I just get excited.
The old blind turn around Andy McGrath. Let me have this dance, and what a great finish. All of a sudden, Hawthorn with all the momentum, leading by 9 points. Reeves wins down the tap. Shield with a chance to get the clearance. Had it, lost it. Ward for the Hawks gives it away to McKenzie. Chips it over the top to Newcomb, who bursts from the clearance. He marks middle of the members' wing. Turns and comes back inboard. Just got to Ward. Probably close to 15 metres, maybe not quite. Paid the mark as he kicks inside 50. Flying from the back, Bruce. Brought it down against Ridley. Rammed into the turf by Langford in the back. Luke Bruce will get the shot on goal. And all of a sudden, just a couple of little 50-50 starting to go Hawthorn's way.
It's good composure again. Yeah. I was singing Cam McKenzie's praise, but his ability just to be composed there, because you see a lot of young first gamers.
On the angle, kicks across the body, hits the very top of the left goalpost. Very top.
Never seen that.
You could have 100 shots at doing that.
I was going to say,
one of them.
How many goes could you have to never be able to do that again? Hawthorn by 10 points.
So momentum absolutely with the Hawks as Redmond plays on out of the goal square. G's run a long way, just kicks it off half back up to the wing. Phillips swats it down, Merritt at the drop. Warple gets rid of him. Ward collects the footy, hand pass to McGuinness. Floats a high bomb down to half forward. Redmond camped underneath it, takes the mark. So the Bombers kick the first 2 goals. Hawthorn the next 3. 3-5 to 2-1. Hawks by 10. Dangerous kick to centre half back, and Ridley takes the mark from Redmond on his chest. Goes back to Zerk Thatcher and swings his kick up to right half back for Kelly. Goes on the 45 to Langford. Hot day in Melbourne yesterday. It cooled down last night and stayed that way today. 21 degrees the top. It's overcast and much cooler than yesterday afternoon. There's a long kick down the line as a turnover, and mark taken by Frost takes the intercept on that southern wing. He goes back to Sicily and swings his kick across the half-back line for Hawthorn to Josh Ward, the second-year Hawk.
Sends it out to Connor McDonald, who marks at right half-back, and then short to Jarman Impey. Giants, as you mentioned, Corby, leading by 9 points at Giants Stadium. Adelaide led comfortably early. 6 goals to 2 in the third quarter, the way of the Giants, and then 2 goals to none so far in this final term. So 8 goals to 2 after half-time, and Toby Green with 4. Kick up toward Lloyd Meek, can't take the mark. McKenzie might emerge with it, gathers at right half forward, almost run down by Shield. Push in the back. And the young Hawk, pick number 7 in last year's draft, will take the free kick just between wing and half forward.
Other thing about that game, Clinchy, by the way, in Sydney, it's 33 degrees. Perryman, hammy in the first quarter. Whitfield, head knock, won't return. Kelly, head knock, won't return. And they've still come back.
Haven't scored in the last quarter. What a kick. McKenzie, lace out, spots Bruce on the lead. He marks in the right forward pocket, 40 metres out from goal.
That pick 7's looking pretty good already, Corby. I reckon we might have found one. Jeez, that was a nice kick. He just puts it out in front of players and lets them do the work.
And the snap with the last one, the more conventional drop punt from Luke Bruce, down to the right. The experienced campaigner working it right to left, and a great finish. Turns to the Hawthorn fans in the Ponsford stand and gives a big fist pump. The Hawks are roaring at the moment, a 16-point lead. Having kicked the last 4 goals of the match, having trailed by 12 points early, 4-5-29 to the Bombers, 2-1-13. 26 minutes gone. Opening term on ABC Sport. You're with Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy.
Just going back to that last play, Lids, as good a kick as it was, and I've really enjoyed watching Cam McKenzie so far, but it's a slow play.
Yeah.
He's got a free kick, come back. There's got to be a midfielder that has to sit in that hole. That's just too much of it. As good a kick as it was, it's an easy kick to hit when there's no one standing there in the hole.
What's your winger doing? That's his role. Get in there and fill that lead lane. Someone just took a little shortcut.
Cam McKenzie, by the way, 28-2 in the Vic Under-18s Grand Final last year for Sandringham. Big performance for him on the biggest stage of his footballing life to that point. Back in the middle, Draper trying to take it out of the ruck, lost it. Newcomb had it, likewise tackled, dispossessed, spills to Merritt. Hand pass to Durham for Essendon. He gives it to Parrish, kicks off his left inside 50. They all miss it, slides through to Jones, clever. Hand pass to Menzie, trying to get rid of Jaff, does so, top of the goal square. And the Bombers break the run of 4 consecutive Hawthorn goals. One they needed, and John Menzie, in just his 3rd game, comes up with his 2nd goal. Essendon 3-1 for the day, Hawthorn 4-5. It's the Hawks by 10, approaching quarter time on Grandstand AFL. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Well done, Harry Jones there. His ability to be clean as he was coming out from the square. I thought he was going to try and dribble that one through on his left, but ability to get it over the top, and Menzie just kept it in front of him, kept his feet, which was probably the most important part, and then just the finish at the top of the goal square. But they needed that one, didn't they? Hawks had a lot of momentum, and I've always said the best way to stop it is to kick a goal yourself rather than try and take the speed out of the game.
Yeah, and again, centre clearance too by the Premier midfielder, Zach Merritt, getting involved there and getting the ball forward to a teammate. It's exactly the response they needed.
Adelaide's first goal of the final term through Josh Rochelle, closed it to 3 points. Nick Haynes kicks his first goal, and it's back to 9. The Giants' way midway through the final term. Hawthorn get the clearance through Warple, sends it out towards Moore. He's beaten to the footy by Redmond. Moore gave a bit of a shove, not in the back in the eyes of the umpire. Langford to Redmond, the kick is smothered. And Moore eventually wins the battle by seeing it out of play. Will Day there as well, who got hands onto it. And the umpire to toss it in at left half forward for the Hawks. Hawthorn leading by 10 points. Reeves wins down the tap against Draper. McKenzie's onto it. Feeds the hand pass away to Day. Looks up inside the 50. Kicks towards Kazitsky against 2. Got rid of Langford. Unable to take the mark. Redmond gathers at the back. Kicks around Carl Lamon. Puts it out into the path of Menzies, who tried to keep it in against Jaff. That's probably not the best move. The umpire said he did eventually take it over as the Hawthorn fans lean over the fence, saying that CJ should have been rewarded. A boundary throw-in on this occasion.
I thought it was quite professional to take the ball out there. I would have done the same thing, I reckon, if I saw Joyce behind me.
Umpire spins it back into play. Reaching over the top, Reeves wins it down. Hurried kick forward, though, from Parrish. Ends up back in the centre square. Jones sits on top of it. He's tackled by Day, and we'll have a ball up.
Just around the stoppages at the moment. Hawthorn will bring a forward up to the stoppages, and Essendon are sitting one back in defence as a +1.
Up it goes again. Reeves again, winning the head out down to Parrish, to Merritt. Gives it back to Parrish. Second touch in the chain as he kicks across the centre square. Out in front of Jones. He leads blank to the footy. Jones clever. Hooks it down behind to Heppel. Heppel a little fumble. Regathers. Hits up Davey, who takes the mark right half forward. And Elwyn Davey Jr.'s got it at right half forward. The man on the mark stands on the 50. He's not comfortable at all with the trip. In the end, he just kicks it to the top of the goal square. Draper arriving late. No mark, spills down to Newcombe, sweeping hand pass back to Davey. Still at centre half forward, sells a dummy, puts the Jets on, shoots on the run. Davey hasn't got the trip. Gee, it would have been some start. And Sicily marks right on the goal line. Hawthorn by 10 points. 31 minutes travelled opening term.
I feel both supporters are clapping there because the Essendon ones are excited about seeing Elwyn Davey, and Hawthorn happy with Sicily's mark on the line.
Long kick out of defence. Kazitsky was shoved out of it by Langford from the Sicily kick. Goes short to Moore, and that'll do us. The opening quarter in the books, and a pretty entertaining opening term after the Bombers kicked the opening 2 goals. Hawthorn then responded with the next 4 before the Bombers finished with the last goal of the quarter. The Hawks leading by 10 points, 4-5-29 to Essendon 3-1-19. The goals coming for the Hawks through Amon, Wingard, Bruce and Green. Meanwhile, for the Bombers through Caldwell, Redman and Menzies. Quarter time at the MCG. Hawthorn leading by 10 points. At Giants Stadium, it's the Giants leading by 11 points as Toby Green is about to have another shot on goal. 23 minutes gone in the final term there. Great to have your company on Grandstand AFL Sunday on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Simone Young is one of the most talented conductors of her generation.
When I started, I faced considerable opposition.
Executive producer Kate Blanchett takes us into the world of one of our greatest conductors.
In 1991, there were no women conductors.
What does being a woman have to do with conducting?
She's not afraid to just be a boss.
Simone Young, Knowing the Score.
It is magic.
Tuesday, March 21st on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
He comes straight in on the straight line. Mason Redman, that's the way to do it. Kicks a cannon from 55 for the first goal of the game.
Thrown up, Draper tries to take it out of the ruck against Meek. It spills to Caldwell, throws it on the boot and steers it through from the top of the goal square. McKenzie for the Hawks gets the clearance up towards half forward. Green was outnumbered 2-on-1. He crashes the pack, wins the footy on 50, eyes the goals. Great finish. He looks to feed the hand pass on as Hawthorn head inside 50. Carl Amon takes the shot on goal. It's a good kick. Welcome to the brown and gold. On the run, on the outside, able to finish with pure class.
Warple out of the middle, links up with young McKenzie, hits up Wingard, can't mark, follows up, spin move, sells the dummy, Wingard for an early goal of the year. What a piece of individual class.
The snap with the last one, the more conventional drop punt from Luke Bruce, down to the right. The experienced campaigner working it right to left, and a great finish. Turns to the Hawthorn fans in the Ponsford stand and gives a big fist pump.
Hand pass to Durham for Essendon. He gives it to Parrish, kicks off his left inside 50. They all miss it, slides through to Jones, clever. Hand pass to Menzies, trying to get rid of Jaff, does so, top of the goal square. And the Bombers break the run of 4 consecutive Hawthorn goals.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Quarter time at the MCG Grandstand AFL Sunday, and it's the Hawks after a slow start who lead by 10 points, 4-5-29 to the Bombers 3-1-19. Mac Lynch and Corbin Middlemass call the action. Lauren Borden down on the boundary. The thoughts of our former number 1 draft picks, Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy, with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, well, I didn't think... Well, I'm excited by the way the Hawks have started this game, Murph, but I thought Essendon would get more control of the game. I think they're just a little bit shell-shocked at the moment, and the Hawks are just playing free. Their midfield have really got on top. Warple, Newcomb, McKenzie, how many times have we sung his praises already? Yep. Great start for the young guy. We talked about Sheasel earlier, about how good's AFL footy. Well, Cam McKenzie's fitted in hand in glove as well. I think, I spoke about Warple in the pre-game, his ability to come in now that Mitchell, O'Meara are gone. Can he take his game to a new level? He's had 10 in the first, 5 clearances, and a shot on goal as well. The key matchup that we've been watching and talking about a little bit is Merritt. I know what it's like. He's had the 5 touches, which has been good, but only the 1 kick, 4 handballs. And a couple of times he almost got in the way of his teammate running across him.
Yeah, trying to break the tag.
Trying to break that tag.
Not the way to do it.
Yeah, but look, he's going to have to work his way through that, but he's also going to need some support from his teammates.
Yeah, that's just the one thing I was going to make note of was I haven't seen too many blocks for him or anyone try and give him an easy touch to get their captain into the game. I think that's one of the messages that will come out to the midfield group, whether it's from Brad Scott or the midfield coaches. Righto, boys, we've got our our skipper here, who's arguably our best player, and they're trying to clamp him. Who's supporting him? Who's putting the blocks? Who's trying to make it hard for Finn McGuinness? Because the last thing Finn McGuinness wants is just body and body all day. So you can sort of get caught up in your own little world out there sometimes. But the other midfielders of Essendon need to think about their skipper and try and support him. But I actually really enjoyed the way in which Hawthorn just fought back after it looked like Essendon were right on top and was sort of doing everything at will the way they wanted to play. But there's a bit of individual brilliance that got them into the game. But then I know we spoke about Cam McKenzie, but just the composure with ball in hand. Initially in your first game of AFL football, some young kids like to just get the ball and get rid of it. But it's a great sign to see a young kid take an extra half a second to a second, just back himself in, have the confidence, and just to use the ball so well. I was really excited to watch him in that first quarter, and just I know a lot of Hawthorn fans are pretty excited. And then we talk about another young kid in his first game, Alwyn Davey Jr., who didn't get a lot of the ball, but just a little bit of individual brilliance. And
could have been anything.
That goal. And Chad Wingard kicked what I called goal of the year so far. We're only around
it is the goal of the year so far.
But Alwyn Davey Jr. could have covered himself in glory as well. But just a few little highlights there, which we're really excited to see.
Just the 5 tackles for the Bombers in that opening term. Hawthorn with 18.
Yeah.
A goal for Luke Pedler for the Adelaide Crows, but it looks in the books the Giants leading by 11 points. After Jesse Hogan kicked his 3rd goal, Toby Green with 4 as well. So GWS 14-16-100 to the Crows 12-17-89. And of course the final game of the weekend's footy, St Kilda taking on Fremantle. Ross Lyon returns to the coaching ranks. So we'll take you to Docklands straight at the completion of this game. Expecting a crowd of around 60,000. They're all the way to the back in the Shane Warne stand at the Punt Road end. So far, so good. A pretty good contest here at the MCG. Bounce to get the second quarter underway. Draper kept his footing while Meek slipped over and allowed Shield to get the clearance. Hand pass back to Draper. Missed his intended target. Newcomb gets back for the Hawks. Tackle by Merritt. Pinned an arm. Umpire said he got a hand pass away. I'm not sure that was the case. Merritt wins it back again. Hand pass to Shield. Kicks a high ball inside 50. Menzie underneath it. Blank got a fist onto it. Heppel in attack. Gets a hand pass forward towards the boundary. And Frost in the end sees it out in the left forward pocket for the Bombers.
It was a great tackle from Zach Merritt and a great follow-up disposal, but then once he gets rid of it, don't run across your teammate again. Run forward and try and be the next link of play and get forward and try and kick goals rather than running wide.
Hawks by 10. Boundary throw in. Half forward for the Bombers. Wiedemann doing the ruck work. Can't take it clean. Spills to Amon of the Hawks. Hand pass out wide, and Menzie inadvertently soccers it to the boundary line. He and McKenzie see it out. Essendon only led 6 games last year at quarter time. And behind here again as we start the second term. Hawthorn with a 4-goal run in the middle stages of that opening quarter. Had it out by 16 points at one stage. It's back to 10. And the boundary throw-in comes to Parrish, swings on the left boot, kicks to the hot spot. They all fly for it. Jaff is cleaned up by Blank, his own teammate. Ball spills out behind him. Knocked away by Frost to the advantage of Walpole. Well-weighted hand pass to Ward. He releases the run of Impey through the middle of the G. Checks his kick to Wingard, who takes the mark forward of the wing.
He looks inside 50, has Green and Kazitsky, puts it out towards Kazitsky. Can't quite get to him. Lost his footing. Zirk Thatcher kept his. Hand pass for the Bombers over the top to Redmond. Wants to come inboard. Spots Langford. He marks it right half back. Hand pass away to Nick Martin at the back edge of the centre square. Links up with McGrath. Through the middle of the ground to Parrish. Feeds it wider still out to the southern wing to Heppel. Takes a bounce as he looks for options further afield. Wiedemann comes out on a long lead. He sets himself. Frost in from the side. Umpire said good legal battle. And the ball goes out of play for a boundary throw-in.
What do we think of the crowd today? Cool day, round one.
You want the number or?
Yeah.
62.
Yep.
57.
Pretty good roll-up.
Yeah, 58 for me.
Two teams both.
That's right.
Two teams both anticipated, obviously, to finish towards the bottom end of the table. From the boundary throw-in comes to Parrish. Hand pass to half forward for Merritt. He's bowled over. He's pushed in the back illegally. It was McGuinness sweating on him as he has been all day. And a free kick for the Essendon captain left half forward.
I like what he did there at that stoppage. He went and made a little 2-for-1 and then just got on the run and ran straight through the stoppage. Makes it really hard to stop when you're getting on the fly like that, but also taking care of two blokes as well because he's got one in his back pocket.
This is where you've got to make it count, don't you?
Yeah.
Make your touches count. You're not going to get a heap of them. If you can get on the scoreboard, they're worth 5, Plough used to tell me.
Three-time best and fairest winner. Now the first-year skipper. The left footer, Zach Merritt, misses. Out to the left, to behind. 3-2 to 4-5. Hawthorn by 9 points. 3 minutes into the second.
Quickly brought back into play to Ward. And received it from Bramble up to the wing. Newcomb the target. Tries to fly over the top of Redmond. Can't take the mark. Redmond first back onto it. Hand pass through the hands of Moore to Shield. Kicks out in front of Menzie. It bounces between he and Wiedemann. Slap back to Harry Jones on 50. Hand pass to Wiedemann. Now to Langford. Chip kick inside 50. That'll work. Good spot up kick. And the mark is taken on a 45-degree angle, about 40 metres out. And it's Menzie involved once more.
Nice passage of play. Great spoil by Redmond. Then it was just quick gives. See the first option. Hit it. And then lower the eyes. Be composed inside 50. Great little hit there by Langford.
But when the Hawks are coming out, they don't want to have Newcomb and Moore as their targets, do they? That's where they're falling down.
The second-year bomber picked up in the mid-season draft, comes in, looking to try and close the gap. He hangs it out to the left. And a couple of behind to the Bombers to start the second quarter. It's an 8-point Hawthorn lead, 4 minutes gone, second term.
Ward marks the kick out, goes back to the top of the defensive goal square for Bramble. And he swings his kick out the right half back. Carl Amon takes the mark. Free agent crossing over at the end of last season. Swings his kick out to McGuinness, who marks in front of Merritt, who becomes tackler on him. Got a hand pass away under pressure to McKenzie up against the boundary line. He kicks hurriedly down the wing. Kazitsky has it spoiled away by Ridley, but straight into the path of McDonald. Sends Hawthorn to centre half forward. Langford forced to spoil. Lands in the lap of Redmond and Essendon. Mop up across the half back line. Kicks out wide to Laverty.
Laverty looks to work it over the top. He's running into space as Kelly. Has it between wing and half back. He turns, wants to come back into the corridor to Andy McGrath on the back edge of the centre square. Trying to switch play out to the Great Southern Stand side, where the mark is taken by Ridley. This is kick mark tempo for the Bombers. It opens up for Shields. He has it left half forward. Spots up Davey just inside the boundary line. He veers out to the right, 60 from home. Long to the goal mouth. Draper's there. Can't get a fly at it. He's been boxed out. Wiedemann was there in front position as well. I think the free kick is going the way of Sam Draper.
Yeah, you're right. Lockie Bramble, I think, caught there against big Essendon ruck and just tried to step back and then put the hands up like he was trying to mark it. Not sure that's going to pay off.
We've seen him do it out of the middle for a goal of the year. Can he do a stock stand and snap across the body from the top of the goal square? Draper steps out, snaps truly. Finally, the Bombers get their first goal of the second quarter after 3 attempts, and it's their ruckman Sam Draper who delivers the blow to close the gap to 2 points Hawthorn's way. 4-5-29, to the Bombers 4-3-27. 6 minutes gone, second term on ABC Sport, full-time at Giants Stadium. GWS 16-point winners over the Adelaide Crows. 15-16, 106 to the Crows, 12-18, 90. Toby Green leading the way with 4 goals for GWS.
I don't mind that call, the block there, Murph, because I think we want to keep and continue and encourage those high-flying marks in our game. Stop impeding everyone's run, just allow him to go, but be good enough to come over and get a big fist in. Don't stop his run. Sure, fair enough, have body contact and whatever else, but he completely blocked him, didn't give him a chance.
Yeah, I think it's a telltale sign when the eyes go away from the ball and you're 185 probably against a ruckman.
Third replay, the Tim Taranto one was pretty good on Louis Young on Thursday night. Tom Lynch taking the mark.
Hawks by a couple, back in the middle, a free kick against Draper after receiving a goal for an illegal box out. He now gives one away, so free kick for the Hawks as Meek shares it with Newcombe. He kicks out wide and it slides out of play in front of Green and Malverdi, and a throw in half forward for the Hawks. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
You mentioned 60,000 people expected today. That's certainly what the Hawks were hoping for this home game. And you can feel down here that the crowd is tilted in favour of the Hawks, even though normally it is the Bombers drawing a big crowd as well.
Thanks, Loz. And the throw in. Meek palms it down. There's Durham for Essendon. Hand pass away to Parrish, to Heppel. Back to Parrish. He feeds it inside the centre square for Perkins. Kicks out in front of Jones, who's backpedaling, takes the mark. A well-weighted drop punt. And Harry Jones has got it 5 metres inside the 50.
You can see the difference there, can't you, with the Bombers, with their ability to set up and hold their structure. I think with the Hawks sending McGuinness up as well as a small forward, they're all at sea, forward of the footy. They haven't got anyone to kick to. So well done to the Bombers, and I wonder whether the Hawks might have to change that, just to get some better structure in front of the ball.
So Harry Jones had an injury-interrupted year last year with just the 10 games. A young emerging forward for the Bombers. That's a superb drop punt. 3 in a row for the Dons. Momentum swings back their way, as does the lead. Second lead change of the game. Dons by 4, 5-3. Hawthorn 4-5.
They've started off this second quarter really well that they started the first. They probably could have kicked an easy two more with Merritt missing an easy one in front, but they're just spreading the ground really well, and on that counter-attack from their D50, they look pretty dangerous because they're getting the ball out the back. So the midfielders right on their game at the moment. Well, we got what's going on here? Free kick. Thought it might have been a review.
Someone did something on the way back.
Free kick in the middle of the ground. I'll have to look for the replay to try and work out what's happened here. It's going the way of Ned Reeves. He wants to feed it around the back to Frost. That's ambitious. He runs into a dead end, gives it back to Reeves. Kicks Hawthorn inside 50. Kajitsky can't get a run at it. There's nothing but Bombers there. And Ridley takes the mark 25 metres out from his defensive goal at the punt road end.
It's weird seeing the ruckman kick it inside 50 against the opposing ruckman.
Yeah,
contest.
It's a good kick too.
What's weirder is when they don't want to kick it. Trying to find anyone to hand pass it to. McGrath goes short. Setterfield takes the mark at right half back in his new colours. Looks up around the members' wing as he's called to play on. Essendon leading by 4 points. Puts it in the direction of Wiedemann. Blank and CJ in the end spoiled each other. Jaff tries to knock it out. Draper off the ground. Volleys it to half forward. Dropping the mark with Sicily. Now he's got a problem as Menzies lays the tackle. No whistle. Bramble for the Hawks. Back inside defensive 50 to McGuinness. Turns on his left-hand side. Up towards Reeves. Spoiled down. Hardwick gets his first touch of the game. Hand pass to Ward. Back to Hardwick. Fires the hand pass out in front of Ward. He has enough time. Day it is. One way, then the other. Hand pass to Newcombe. Between wing and half forward. Back to Day. He kept running. He gets to 50. Can he go all the way? Sets it to home. It's out to the right-hand side and won't quite have the distance. As Zerk Thatcher takes the mark on the behind line.
Can't wait to see more of Will Day just cruising through the midfield, and we'll see a bit more of it this year in these young Hawks as the kick heads to Ridley. Hand pass too strong for Martin. He becomes tackler on Newcombe. Squeeze the kick inside 50. It slips out of bounds and a throw in half forward for Hawthorn.
It was nice signs, wasn't it, from Will Day? Just the bounding run.
He had to because there was no one coming up at him. They're all going away, and then there was an outnumbered almost 3-5 down there.
High pick back in 2019, and what a draft that's turning out to be from the boundary throw-in. Falls down to Ward. Got a hand pass away to Warpool. Kicks outside of the right boot. Misses. Near side. Don's lead cut to 3. So 5-3-33 to Hawthorn 4-6-30. 11.5 gone in this second term, and just repeating full time up in Sydney, the Giants by 16 points over Adelaide.
Ridley brings it back into play for the Bombers. Laverty up to the wing. Flying was Wiedemann. Can't take the mark. Hitting it with good pace though was Perkins. Looks up towards half forward and Harry Jones marks. He wants to move it quickly inside 50. Menzies the target, can't take the mark. Spoiled down by Sicily with good support from Hardwick. Sicily tries to knock it along the boundary line. Hand pass away to Ward. Feeds it back inside defensive 50 to Hardwick. Hand pass to Carl Lamont. Wants to switch. Finds CJ, who marks in the left back pocket.
So Jankwath Jath out to half back. McGuinness the target. Punched away by Langford. Charging through Wingard. Almost threw it back to Bramble. Hand pass to McGuinness. He goes back to Jath. He did throw it. That didn't bite. He kicks down the wing. Here's Newcomb. Hawks are out. Up over halfway. Newcomb running downhill. Ridley after him. Newcomb kicks inside 50. They all miss it. Laverty knocks it away for the Bombers to Zerk Thatcher, who just kicks out to Durham at halfback. Heavy collision. Frost attacks the footy and wins it. Sends a hand pass inboard for Hawthorn. Only as far as Heppel though with the Bombers. Centre half back. He gives it by hand to Jones.
Had Auckley get his kick over Wingard. Couldn't get it to Martin though. Turns it over. A chance for more. Straight down the middle. Spots up Wingard. He has options. Bruce in the pocket. Kaczynski deepest. He's in no hurry to move it. Harry Jones is 53 metres out. Day pushes forward into space. He marks alongside the 50-metre arc, but he's further out to the left. This would take a fair kick from Will Day.
It's like a freight train, isn't he, Sam Frost?
Oh, how good was that contest?
Only knows one way, doesn't he? Just straight at it.
You reckon he's got this in his leg, Murph? Haven't seen enough. Hopefully, for the Hawks.
Love to see it.
He veers out to the right to give it everything he's got. It's offline and it won't have the distance. Underneath it, Zerk Thatcher doesn't take the mark. Green tries to knock it forward. Zerk Thatcher has another go. His hand pass out in the path of Durham. Knocks it on to McGrath. Kicks around the boundary line. Mackenzie's there for the Hawks. Retreats back by hand to Blank, who awkwardly drops it on his boot, looking for Newcomb. McGrath flies in front for the Bombers. Wingard pinballs off an opponent. Tackle when he didn't have it. No whistle. Shield runs away with it. Kicks up to the wing. Wiedemann the target. Jaff back with the flight. Wasn't facing the footy. And he'll give away the free kick.
A few mistakes both ways at the moment. Free kick for Wiedemann on the wing, southern side. Essendon lead the game by 3. That's an ugly looking kick as it skids its way through to Frost. Had to try and ride some contact from Perkins on the way through. Got it out wide to Hardwick. Kicks down the line and kicks it out on the full. Gee.
A few errors caught.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just not enough O's in smooth. As the short kick from Setterfield finds Kelly. Takes it low down. Hand pass to McGrath. Sends it back to half forward. There's another turnover. Sicily with the intercept mark. The centre half back for Impey.
Wow.
Hand pass to Day, who wasn't looking. Mistake every second possession at the moment. Hand pass out to Impey. Short kick back inboard to McDonald. Just checks it for a moment for Hawthorn. Kicks across the centre square. Hardwick the target. No mark. Spoil from Shield. Hardwick follows up. Hand pass to Jankwath Jath. He sends his kick out wide to Amon. Back to Jath. He keeps on moving. CJ closes to 45. Pressure comes too late. It's a goal from Jath. And the kip up after the goal as well. That'll get the Hawks fans excited. CJ with a special on the run. Hawthorn by 3 points. The third lead change of the match, 15 minutes into the second term.
You could just see when he was running into some space, had goal written all over, and I think every Hawthorn fan just loves it when they see him with a bit of space in front of him, because he just always runs and takes that yardage. It's a great finish and a great celebration too, Lids.
His legs just look like they're going forever, don't they? He takes the longest strides, but I love that he has that real bounce off half back, and he's willing to go at the game. He doesn't just creep and go sideways and look for an easy option. He's saying, no, you know what? I've got some speed, I've got some agility. I'm going to go at this game and open up some play. But how good was that celebration? I don't think I've seen that.
We saw Striker did it at one stage last night. We're talking about the kip up, which is what basically Shawn Michaels does for people that follow the WWF. You would have seen Shawn Michaels all the years off the canvas, basically lying on his back, springboards up in one motion, pure drive with the legs, and CJ just replicated it right there.
Got it just in front of the AFL logo on the southern side, ran inside 50 and finished with class. Back in the middle, the Bombers need an answer now. Shield gets the clearance, hand pass away to Phillips, high kick inside 50. Draper's gone to full forward, can't take the mark. Sicily for the Hawks, hand pass to Hardwick, can't clear it. Now the tackler on Martin, got him, great tackle. Umpire waves play on. It spills the way of Frost. Sicily now tries to tap it to his advantage, he's dragged down. And now the umpire does blow his whistle, a push in the back. And James Sicily will get the free kick in the right back pocket. Feels like there's a couple that are being let go at the moment. And Sicily spears it out to the left back pocket. And Jaff, the last goal scorer, takes the mark. Feeds it around the back to Carl Lamont. Drives it up to the wing. Over the head of Moore. Working back with Langford. Langford tugged at his jumper. Worried about the speed. Gave away the free kick. And Moore is off. No one on the mark, plays on, chips it inside 50, it's too wide for Kajitsky. And the mark is taken by Zerk Thatcher of the Bombers.
Kicks to centre half back, Durham hangs onto it. And then just slows it down. Short kick to Setterfield, hand pass to Parrish. Alongside the centre circles, kicks to centre half forward. Nick Martin marks over his teammate Caldwell. Turns and drives it deep to Wiedemann, who's backpedaling and marks uncontested in front of Blank. And he'll shoot from 15 out, straight in front.
If you're prepared to run and actually work really hard out there today, you're going to find a bit of ball because there's a lot of space. Both teams are actually holding their forwards pretty well and truly ahead of the ball. So if you're a midfielder or a half-backer and you want to take yardage and back your leg in, then you can because there's lots of space out there today.
Sam Wiedemann had a season best last year of 4 against Essendon. Back in round 3 before making the move in the off-season. He's first as a Bomber. He drives it straight through the middle to return Essendon to the front. The lead swinging on the last 3 goals in the game. 4th lead change of the match. Essendon 6-3-39. Hawthorn 5-6-36. Sam Wiedemann, one of the new faces for Essendon on the scoreboard. 19 gone, second term, Dons by 3.
Well, you can just see what it does when you can actually put a bit of pride in your possession going inside 50. Moore couldn't get onto Kazitsky, but well done Brendan Zerk Thatcher, just close that space. But then Martin, with his ability, I know it was a different kick, granted, but finds a target, gets a goal, so put some bit more of a price on that last possession going inside 50 and get the rewards.
It's been good seeing both clubs holding their forwards, at least holding 4 forwards ahead of the ball. So when you, as a midfielder, you're running forward, you don't just have 1 or 2 options. There's always someone up there that's running at your leg or behind.
The voice of Mark Murphy alongside Brett Delidio, Matt Clinch, Corbin Middlemass and Lauren Borden with you on ABC Sport. Warple with the clearance of the Hawks. Hand pass to Day. Kick miss screen inside 50. Ridley trying to complete the mark. Now taps it to his own advantage. Green tries to slide in and win it back for the Hawks. Did really well. Retreats back by hand. Hand pass back to Ward. Sidesteps around Martin. Let me have this dance from 45 metres out. It's across the face. And missing to the left-hand side. Bombers lead cut to 2 at the 19-minute mark of the second term. GWS 16-point winners over the Adelaide Crows, and still to come St Kilda and Fremantle, the final game of round 1.
Redmond into the back pocket for Laverty. Off the back flank, he kicks down the wing. Sicily gets to the drop of the ball, but spills the chest mark. Falls to Amon, and Amon ends up getting pushed into the Essendon dugout. With the footy, a boundary throw in on the wing.
Just the little things there, like when you're coming out of defence, you see your big ruckman, put it to his advantage and put it on his head, rather than putting it too far out in front of him. Doesn't give him a chance to run and jump at it.
Connor Nash and Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody, the 2 subs. Neither of them used so far from the boundary throw-in. Durham passing through traffic. The spin move, shakes the tackle and hands it to Caldwell. Perfect kick to Davey. He turns and plays on. Elwyn Davey Jr. 3 bounces to 15 out, and he misses across the goal face. Gee, it looked like he was going to be able to walk it in. And we're still waiting for the first goal for Elwyn Davey Jr. at AFL level on debut. It actually clipped the behind post on the way through, so that's out on the full, and a free kick for Hawthorn. Score doesn't change. Dons by 2.
Frost goes for a big raking kick out of defence, which the wind caught, but Langford takes the intercepting mark.
I swear he tried to drop it inside out barrel there.
Carl Langford reloads, sends them inside 50. Wiedemann's got the mark on the second grab. 15 metres out, directly in front. And a bit frustrated, Sam Frost couldn't get a hand to that.
Well, he's kicked the mung out of the back line, and then he's failed to find his opponent and his body.
Big confidence builder this for Sam Wiedemann, coming to a new football club and
100%.
taking a big grab and looking to kick his second.
Couldn't get a look in last year for the Demons, still only 25 years of age. For his second in consecutive minutes, he puts it through. Bombers extend their lead to an 8-point margin, 7-3-45 to Hawthorn, 5-7-37. 22 minutes gone, second quarter. And with the injury to leading goal kicker Peter Wright on Friday, all of a sudden might get a lot of opportunities at the start of the season. Sam Wiedemann with his second.
That's right, Clinch. You lose one of your big key targets, probably obviously your best key forward. It gives an opportunity to another bloke, and Sam Wiedemann comes from Melbourne. And I'm tipping if he was to walk in at half-time, having kicked 2 before the start of the game, he would have taken that. So well done to him. It's such a great confidence builder, isn't it, when you come across from another football club and start as well as what he has.
Sort of threatened to break out for a while, Sam Wiedemann. He's now 25. It's a top 10 pick back in 2015, averaging just over a goal a game through his 60 matches so far. Free kick in the middle for Dylan Shield. He was held amongst all of that, so a bit of go forward again for Essendon out of the centre square. Long kick in the Perkins direction. Frost leaping over the back, knocks it out of play. A throw in 35 out from the Bombers' goal. I was probably thinking he was going to play in tandem with Peter Wright. He's now going to miss half the season after dislocating his shoulder. Didn't miss a game last year. Peter Wright en route to the best and fairest from the boundary throw-in. Meek grabs it out of the ruck, took an age to get rid of it. Wiedemann got him. And Sam Wiedemann is heavily involved in this game in the last 5 minutes. He's kicked 2 and now he'll line up for a third. 45-degree angle left of centre. He'll kick from just inside 50.
Well, he's been involved in the game, so he's confident and he's harassing and he gets a tackle inside 50.
That's the stuff that endears you to your teammates, doesn't it? The goals are nice, but it's the tackling, doing the little things, the 1%ers.
Sam Wiedemann, the first-year Bomber. After the trade in the off-season, the right foot drop punt misses to the near side. Behind, but he's having a purple patch here. He's kicked 2 in the last 5 minutes and now behind to go along with it. Essendon by 9 with momentum. Time on second quarter.
Jarman Empey looking to bring the Hawks back into play. Short for Mackenzie. All of a sudden it's a 4-1 second quarter the way of the Bombers. 4-3 to 1-2. As Mackenzie retreats back and Impey takes the mark. Just 5 metres out from his defensive goal at the city end. Short to Moore. Still hemmed in the left back pocket. Darts across his defensive 50 looking for options. Spots Hardwick. Takes the mark. Now looks up to the Shane Warne stand wing, where Ward has space for a moment. Thought about the hand pass to Jaff. Now pushes back behind his mark. Sends a high ball in the direction of Meek. He's got a couple to compete against. Ridley spoils it down. Jaff onto it. Has an arm pin and throw to the turf. Sam Draper with a bone-rattling tackle. Don't think there's too many that can stop CJ, but Draper was able to do so, and a 50-metre penalty.
Yeah, Will Day put the ball on the ground, I reckon.
Some good signs there from Essendon. The last 2 big tackles, you got Sam Wiedemann and Sam Draper, your 2 big key targets, and big ruckman laying tackles. Setting a great example.
Draper will be about 55, 60 metres out when the free kick for the 50 is awarded. So he just puts it to the top of the goal square. Wiedemann comes rushing out, can't take the mark. Front and centre, firing goal, missing to the right. Perkins had the flying shot on goal, was front and centre. Perfect spot for a crummer, but missed to the right-hand side. It's a 10-point lead for the Bombers.
8 shots to 3 for the quarter. Essendon's way. They lead the game, as Clinchy said, by just 10, though. The last line of defence, Hardwick sends his kick all the way out to Ward, who marks at half-back. A hand pass to Jaff. Kicked a spectacular goal earlier in the quarter for Hawthorn. Loops a hand pass to Wingard. Away to McGuinness. Merritt tries to lay the tackle. Squeeze the kick down the line. Kazitsky with the pressure from Zerk Thatcher. Can't catch it. Slips out of bounds. A throw in 70 out from the Hawks goal. Overcast day in Melbourne, floodlights on. 20 degrees the temp. After a hot one in Melbourne yesterday from the throw-in, Meek knocks it down. Setterfield under pressure though for Essendon. Feeds a hand pass forward. Sicily in the other direction collects for Hawthorn. Hand pass to Amon. Hands it away to Wingard. He's 70 out, half forward. Hooks the kick back to the hot spot. Redmond never took his eyes off it. Takes the juggled mark for the Bombers. Dangerous kick though. Trying to swing it out to Kelly. Got it to him eventually. The Bombers off half back now. Laverty links up with Ridley. Kicks down the wing. Perkins takes the mark. He's going to roll onto his right boot, the third-year Bomber. Kicks inside the forward 50. Wiedemann the target. Sicily with the spoil. Knocks it towards the boundary line and eventually it trickles out. 60 around from the Essendon goal at left half forward. Bombers by 10 as we tick towards half-time.
Enjoying seeing their work rate at the moment, Lids. Essendon. They win the ball back there off the half-back line, and then they burst and hit their target, but they've got 5 or 6 blokes already ahead of the ball inside 50.
Draper and Meek. Meek wins down the tap for the Hawks. The former Docker picked up by Nick Martin. Kicks inside 50. Davey takes the mark. Is it third time lucky for Alwyn Davey Jr. Had a shot in the first quarter which was denied by James Sicily right on the goal line, like a golfer was riding as he leant. And Sicily right up against the post. He could have almost run into the open goal from 30 metres out, missed to the left. And now gets a shot pretty much directly in front. 45 metres out.
Like the confidence of Martin to have a go at that kick, because sometimes you can be, oh, that's a danger zone to kick it there if you turn it over. Back your leg in. If you see it, have a go at it.
Jaden, his brother, presented him with his jumper into the 22 for round 1 from right on 50. Sets fly. It's right to the goal line. It's there. The celebrations as they come from everywhere. The flex as it went through. One of the great sights in AFL footy, a father-son, and the pure joy from the Essendon faithful at the city end. Another great piece of family history with the famous number 33 on his back, and still a couple of pats on the shoulder and rub of the head. The Bombers, importantly, stretch their lead to 16 points, 5 goals to 1 in this second quarter. 8-5-53 to Hawthorn, 5-7-37. 29 minutes gone, second quarter.
Well, you spoke about the Essendon's ability to really outwork and run and dash, for their ability to get back first and then go again. Well, it's easier when you've got a +2 almost most times when it's going in there. Your mates are catching it, and you can just spread straight off the back of that. They need to even that up, Hawthorn. It's costing them dearly.
Dad's in the crowd, out of his seat, applauding.
Sitting next to his former teammate, Paddy Ryder, now back at the Bombers as their Indigenous liaison officer, as Draper won the tap back in the middle. Hurried kick forward from Shield. Here's Davey again involved. Hand pass away to Warple, though, of the Hawks, and he's tackled.
Well, he's had 3 shots already. He's only kicked the 1 goal, 0 behinds, but he's one fall short, and the other one looked like it was going to be a goal, didn't it? But unfortunately shanked it, so he's getting some opportunities in front of goal.
As the ball's chucked up at the restart, that'll do us. At half-time, Essendon by 16 points. A dominant second quarter. They kicked 5 goals to 1. They had 9 scoring shots to 3 in that term. So after trailing by 10 points at quarter time, it's now Essendon by 16 at the half. 8-5-53, Hawthorn 5-7-37. Now the goal kickers to half-time for Essendon, Sam Wiedemann has 2. They both came in the space of 3 minutes. And then singles for Draper, Caldwell, Jones, Redmond, Davey Jr. and Menzie. Meanwhile for Hawthorn, singles to Jath, Amon, Wingard, Bruce and Green. 8 goals to 5 Clinchy, Essendon by 16 at the half.
Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport.
Well, I think, Murph, that you'd be pretty happy now if you're an Essendon supporter. You've got control of the game. You've taken some chances, taken some risks, but you've really challenged Hawthorn. You know, they came out full of confidence and they're ready to go. The Hawks in that first quarter, Essendon probably took a little while to find their feet, but I feel like they got more on top in the midfield in that quarter, led by Shield and Parrish in there. I feel like they really gave them some drive and went more direct. They started to get their hands on the ball, and they were able to stop the influence of the Hawks. Warple only had the 4 that quarter. Ward had a couple, but then Newcomb didn't have as much of it either in that quarter. So you stop the opposition, and then you're able to go forward and really give yourself some chances. That's what Essendon were able to do. Yes, was it scrappy? Absolutely. There was some horrific bits of play in there, but geez, they take some confidence out of it that they're doing something right.
Yeah, and I think their method's been pretty good. They're working hard defensively. I think Hawthorn's playing a little bit into their hands the way in which you talked about their high half forwards coming up and not getting involved, and Hawthorn using the ball and just kicking it back to the Essendon defenders, and they're getting a lot of run off their half back line. But I've actually enjoyed the way in which Essendon have held their depth and their width. It's made it easier for those guys who get the ball in the defensive 50 to see targets, because there's so much more space to use it through, because their forwards are holding greater length up the ground. So they're getting more opportunities. The targets are more obvious, and they have made a few mistakes, but they could have kicked a few more goals, and they probably missed a few easier ones as well. And it was all played in their half that quarter, the Bombers, when it looked like the back half of that first quarter, it looked like Hawthorn were really starting to get on top.
Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with their assessments to halftime. Giants winners by 16 points over Adelaide earlier, and still to come, it's the Saints and the Dockers from Docklands. Great to have your company on Sunday Grandstand AFL. For the moment, let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The Victorian government says it won't rule out toughening up laws that restrict the display of Nazi symbols. Zilla Gordon with the details.
Men dressed in black with face coverings, some carrying the Australian flag, performed the Nazi salute while walking down Spring Street in front of State Parliament at a demonstration against transgender rights yesterday. In December last year, the Andrews government prohibited public displays of Nazi symbols, with anyone committing an offence facing a fine of around $22,000, 12 months jail, or both. Deputy Premier Jacinta Allen says such behaviour is cowardly.
The government has absolutely no tolerance for this sort of behaviour.
Miss Allen says the government will look at what further action might need to be taken.
The New South Wales Labor Party says it will amend the state's constitution to prevent critical public assets from being sold off if it wins the upcoming state election. The opposition leader Chris Minns says he'll legislate the changes to ensure Sydney Water and Hunter Water remain public utilities. Speaking at a rally in Parramatta in Western Sydney, he says the move will help keep the cost of water low.
Putting Sydney Water and Hunter Water in the New South Wales Constitution stops a backdoor fire sale of this essential asset. Labor also believes that a guaranteed right to a safe, reliable supply of clean water should be a constitutionally protected right for the people of New South Wales.
The first coordinated census of grey nurse sharks along the coast of eastern Australia has found an alarmingly low number. Grey nurse sharks are critically endangered and as little is known about them. Despite being protected, they're still killed by shark nets and injured by fishing wire. Retired Captain Gordon Scott organised the count and says the number is continuing to dwindle.
From Wolf Rock up in Queensland, which is the northern extreme of their known range at the moment, down to Montague Island. So we've had 20 people participate, or 20 operators, and we've only had a head count of 247 sharks, which is really quite terrifying.
At least 14 people are dead after a large earthquake hit the South American nation of Ecuador. The magnitude 6.9 quake struck 22 kilometres off the coast. It was centred just off the Pacific coast, about 80 kilometres south of Ecuador's second largest city, Guayaquil. Extensive damage has been reported in some areas, with people still trapped under the rubble. Russian President Vladimir Putin has celebrated the 9th anniversary of the annexation of Crimea by visiting the Black Sea region. The BBC's Sasha Schittler reports.
A day after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for his alleged involvement in child trafficking, President Putin will be keen to project an image that is business as usual. He flew to Sevastopol, the home of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and probably the best protected place in Crimea. State TV showed him wearing a dark polo, neck jumper and sports jacket, being shown around a new children's art centre by the mayor and a priest. Crimea's illegal incorporation into Russia 9 years ago today lay the groundwork for last year's full-scale invasion.
Serbia has signalled a change in its attitude to Kosovo with the signing of an EU-backed agreement to normalise ties. It's been 15 years since Kosovo declared independence from Serbia following a conflict between them. The deal was clinched after 12 hours of talks in northern Macedonia. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell says the agreement will bring significant benefits to both sides.
The parties have fully committed to honour all articles of the agreement and implement all their respective obligations expediently and in good faith.
The Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi has arrived in the Solomon Islands capital Honiara today, kicking off a whirlwind tour of the region. The ministers met with the Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sugawara and toured a Japanese war memorial. The minister's visit comes ahead of two high-level delegations set to visit Honiara in coming days from China and the United States. The Solomon Islands found itself at the forefront of geopolitical tussles in the region, with the US recently reopening an embassy in the capital. And Melbourne halfback Jerome Hughes is facing a one-game suspension for a dangerous contact incident in the Storm's loss to the Gold Coast in the NRL yesterday. Hughes was penalised for the late hit on Titans halfback Tanner Boyd early in the game. The New Zealand international would be banned for 2 games if he contests the charge and is found guilty. ABC News. You can get more news at any time. Just download the ABC Listen app.
ABC Listen.
So, what's the craziest question you've ever been asked on the Dr. Carl podcast?
Well, Triple J listeners are pretty imaginative, so we've been asked questions like, why do men have nipples?
And what happens if you shoot a gun in space? And how do trees talk to each other? The answer, of course, is the Wood Wide Web.
Carl.
Dr. Carl and Dr. Lucy have all the answers on the Dr. Carl podcast. Find it on the ABC Listen app. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
We've seen him do it out of the middle for a goal of the year. Can he do a stock standard snap across the body from the top of the goal square? Draper steps out, snaps truly.
So Harry Jones had an injury-interrupted year last year with just the 10 games. A young emerging forward for the Bombers. That's a superb drop punt. 3 in a row for the Dons. Hardwick follows up. Hand pass to Chankwop Jav. He sends his kick out wide to Amon. Back to Jav. He keeps on moving. CJ closes to 45. Pressure comes too late. It's a goal from Jav. And a kip up after the goal as well. That'll get the Hawks fans excited.
Carl Langford reloads, sends them inside 50. Wiedemann's got the mark on the second grab. Couldn't get a look in last year for the Demons, still only 25 years of age. For his second in consecutive minutes, he puts it through. Draper and Meek. Meek wins down the tap for the Hawks, the former Tonka. Picked up by Nick Martin, kicks inside 50. Davey takes the mark from right on 50. Sets fly, it's right to the goal line, it's there! The celebrations as they come from everywhere.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The highlights of the second quarter as heard on ABC Sport. A good one for Bombers fans as they made their move. A 16-point lead at the main break after trailing at quarter time by 10 points. Essendon 8-5-53 to the Hawks 5-7-37. And as you heard there, Alwyn Davey Jr. on his third attempt was able to kick his first goal in AFL footy. Sam Wiedemann with a couple. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, individual goal scorers for them. Matt Cledge alongside Corbin Middlemass called the action. Lauren Borden down on the boundary. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio are your experts on Grandstand AFL Sunday. If you want to get in touch with us on the SMS, 0437 774 774, as someone has done wanting to give credit to the Giants and their courageous win. Looked like they had no chance with no players left on the bench for the majority of the last quarter. 35-degree heat. Good win. We didn't see a lot of the game, but I will show you Brett Delidio.
Harry Himmelberg. I just watched it. Oh, my God. On Riley O'Brien's as strong as an oxo, and he has helped him out. Something incredible.
Have you seen this, Murph?
I just saw it then.
Okay.
And he stood there for about half a second after he marked it too and almost just stepped down on the ladder, didn't he?
So right on top of the ruckman, which is a great effort just to get that high.
That's early mark of the year contender.
It is.
Big clubhouse leader.
Well, we've got them sorted already.
Wingard here today.
Yep, Wingard today, and then big H. Himmelberg smacking that mark. That's awesome. That was a huge mark for.
Enormous. I agree, by the way, for what it's worth, that is a hell of a win. So to be behind the way that they were getting pretty heavily beaten in terms of scoring shots early in the game. They were getting outplayed by the Crows. They lost Perryman in the first quarter with a hammy. Whitfield and Kelly both had head knocks. Kelly was late in the piece. Winfield was early, though, and pretty solid temperatures, mid-30s. That they're still able to come from behind to get it done at home.
Look out next week, though, playing the Eagles over there. So Adam Simpson's just like, oh, poor Giants. He'd be rubbing his hands together. How good's that for them?
So Adam Kingsley's first win as Giants coach. Toby Green as captain, 4-4.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good outing, isn't it? 4-4. And Corby, you're right. To do it with the injuries and in that heat and to be behind to come through and win that game, it's a great team building win, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's what you want to do, and that's what all coaches would be really building their young lists around, and the hope. So we're doing the right stuff here, boys. Don't worry.
I think the 3 new coaches last year all won the first 2 rounds. Yeah, they were all 2-0. And obviously 2 of them have won so far this weekend. Kingsley, the only one coaching for the first time. Clarkson in charge of a new team. And then obviously 2 today. So Brad Scott in half-time in this game at the moment, but his team up by 16. And Ross Lyon obviously playing against, coaching his old team against one of the other teams he previously coached, obviously in Fremantle.
The only downer for the Giants was a head clash, unfortunately, for Lockie Whitfield with Rory Sloane. So he was subbed out of the match. So fingers crossed he'll be right to return in the next week or so. In the NRL, it's round 3 this afternoon, with the one match taking place at the moment. The Canterbury Bulldogs lead the West Tigers 12-6. 26 minutes gone in that match, and the Canberra Raiders and the Cronulla Sharks still to come. Don't forget, of course, Corbin and Ben every Monday and Thursday with Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy making little cameo appearances.
I didn't last week. I was away down
in the Lycra.
I wasn't in the Lycra. I'm so much taller than the Lycra.
That's the reports we're getting from down the coast.
Corbin was leading a little rumour that you're in the peloton in the Lycra.
Yeah. No.
I said he was in a bike race. Ben said he might have been in the Lycra.
I actually just thought he was in the Lycra on a mountain bike, which apparently has been chosen to be. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because you don't usually...
No backflips, but I did dominate the trails. Yeah. I only come off once.
Told me you were sleeping out under the stars as well.
In the swag, rolled the swag out. It's a beautiful little campground if you get down there, Lake Elizabeth, down at Forest.
I reckon you'd be the type to have the swag. I reckon.
Corbin. I said that to him in the car on the way to the ground. I said, mate, you wouldn't be a camper, would you?
I'm throwing barbs too.
I love that was your first reaction because that's exactly what Liv said. But I'm catching some strays. I imagine you'd be more a city slicker kind of guy. Than
he glamps. He doesn't camp. He glamps.
I don't even know what glamping is.
Correct.
But I think when you're sitting there in your purple dons there, there's no way you're rolling the swag out.
Well, you had a couple of stories, Murph, about going to the snow last year, but let's not revisit that. All in all...
But you're right, Corbin and Ben is on
Monday and Thursday.
5. Sorry, I do need to get this plug in. 5 p.m, as you're right, Clinchy, Monday and Thursday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time on ABC Sport Digital. Also catch up anytime at the podcast store under the Best of ABC Sport folder. Brett Delidio is every Thursday on the program, and Mark Murphy's on every Monday, which is tomorrow. So we've got our Mad Mondays with Murph. And
what's the Thursdays with Lids?
Thoughtful. Considered.
So under the Best of ABC Sport is where you can find it.
Working title.
Okay. Yes, as you can find our new NRL podcast as well in Zane with Zane Bojack. So if you're an NRL fan, keep an eye out for that. And, of course, Offsiders this morning with Kelly Underwood available under the ABC iView if you want to catch up with all the other sports stories and narratives around the world. And there's so much going on with the start of the Super Netball season as well. So lots of storylines left, right and centre. Still to come, the Saints and the Dockers this afternoon from Dockland. So Ben Cameron will be on hand to call that game this afternoon. But here at the MCG, it's the Hawks trailing by 16 points. The Bombers able to get on top in that second quarter. I think there was a little presentation taking place. Was it the 1982 Hawthorn Premiership side?
82 was Carlton, wasn't it?
83.
83 it might have been.
Yep.
Who were being honoured at half-time here.
That's
so
good from you.
Hawthorn home game.
It was against Richmond, I'm pretty sure, so I know my history.
Just on the crowd, Clenchy, so I mentioned this during the call, and what we're saying around the 60,000 mark in today. So interesting in round one, the AFL has made it their goal in the last 2 years in particular post-COVID to try and break the all-time round one record. They fell just short last year. The record, by the way, is 400,401. So 400,401. Fell just short last year despite the loaded fixture, and this year again they've loaded up with 4 big games at the MCG. The tally leading into today was 291,000, almost 292,000. So we essentially need 108,442 today across the 3 games.
She wasn't getting it up there at the Giants.
Too much to the tally.
I don't think they're going to help us out too much, unfortunately, which means there's probably going to need to be 100,000 across the 2 games, which you think they're probably not going to get 40,000 for St Kilda Freo, and with about 60-odd here, they're going to fall just short again. But I quite like it as a round 1 play. Great way to start the season. Big games in Melbourne. The Victorian clubs playing one another as a hard launch.
Yeah, I like it, and there've been some big clashes, not just because of their big clubs, but they're sides that should contend pretty heavily towards the back half of this season and into September. So
well, it feels like they're all matched around their station, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
It feels like the top teams are playing each other, or the top teams from last year, and the lesser sides. There's not too many that it's probably. Yeah.
The Melbourne Dogs one, they've had a couple of goes, haven't they? That was the season opener when it was the grand final rematch on the Wednesday night. I think they got just under 60,000 from memory last year, but that Richmond-Carlton one is locked in really as a season opener now that those 2 sides are going to be close to each other. And what was the attendance last night for that Melbourne Bulldogs game?
48.
Yeah, it's just not quite getting the number they'd hope it would get.
Yep. It's interesting, though, because you put all these sort of big blockbuster games in round 1. All of a sudden, round 2 and 3, you sort of go, it's just not quite the sort of high-profile games as what you'd think. So next week, Carlton-Geelong on a Thursday night, which interesting enough game of footy, obviously, with the Blues always drawing and the reigning premiers, both teams looking for their first win. You got Brisbane at home against Melbourne on Friday night. And then across the weekend, it sort of doesn't quite have sort of your huge blockbuster-type appeal. I think our game in this time slot next Sunday, which is also the nationally televised sort of slot, Essendon Gold Coast at Dockland. So the Suns aren't sort of big drawers, and the Bombers get their first home game of the season.
Yeah. Get another look at the Bombers.
Yay. Yeah.
Oh, they've been good today.
Clark Murphy and Brett Talidia alongside Matt Clinch, Corbin Minimas and Lauren Borden down on the boundary. Just waiting for the match review findings to come out for the Cozzy Pickett bump.
What do you think?
I've got to be honest, if the AFL is serious about some of the class actions they're facing around concussion at the moment, a second one being lodged across the weekend, it's hard to see how that doesn't get weeks. I mean, if it's careless, he'll either get 1 week or a fine. But if they judge it that his feet were off the ground, therefore it has to be intentional, then I gather he's probably looking at 1 to 2. So,
from mine, there's no. If they give that a fine, it's a worry because you've got to look after.
It means
the
we're not
player.
serious about it.
He's got his head over his leg about to kick the ball. You can't come in and collect a bloke like that. So, I think it's probably fair enough to get 1 or 2. I'd be happy enough him getting 2 for someone leaving the ground trying to make contact with the bloke's head.
Yep. Let's try and eradicate it. Get it out of it. I thought we knew that you weren't supposed to do that way back in 2008 when Daniel Gian Sirusa did it to Cozzy. Let's get it out of the game and protect that head. And I think a hefty suspension will do that. And I know the old school people will be like, the game's going soft. No, we're just getting smarter. Let's look after the head.
Because a lot of it's about the look for the game and kids playing football, and you don't want kids seeing that and thinking that's okay to leave the ground and hit rather than try and tackle. Really? So
exactly. But if he doesn't jump and then just buries his shoulder in and tries to tackle him.
Yeah. There's a difference between standing your ground and coming off the ground to hit.
Yep, agree.
I think it'll just be interesting to see
how it's graded.
Yep. And I think that'll say a little bit about the way in which they want the rest of the season to be played out. Cozzy Pickett is an amazing player, and he's got a lot of power and force when he wants to apply it.
Yeah, it's great.
He was off the ground though.
Yeah.
That's the part that I feel like should be focused on, and it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Love him as a player. I think he's great for the game, but you want to get rid of that.
So what? Yeah, you smack someone like that, mate, you deserve to be out.
Players around in position. We're just about ready for the second half to get underway. The Bombers leading by 16 points, 8-5-53 to Hawthorn, 5-7-37. A pretty good second quarter for the Bombers, kicking 5-4 to Hawthorn's 1-2 after the Hawks led by 10 points at quarter time. Floodlights are on here at the MCG, but the natural light still doing the job. A coolish Sunday afternoon. Here's Corbin Middlemass.
Essendon by 16 points. Draper in the middle, leaping up, wins the hit out down to Parrish, who kicks out to half forward, and Hardwick takes the mark. And off the back flank. Chops it off for Hawthorn. I was thinking about the round 1 fixture, by the way. I reckon I could break the record if you give me a chance to take hold of the fixture, Murph. As the kick heads down the outer edge of the centre square, knocked down to Merritt, hand pass to Martin, he links up with Parrish, swings his kick across the ground and Langford takes the mark. Short kick down to half forward for Merritt.
Great work.
Merritt 52 metres out and he steps around McGuinness on the mark, pulls his kick inboard but turns it over and Warple takes the intercept mark.
Tried to do the right thing but it wasn't probably on, was it?
Too much.
Warple thought about going backwards to Sicily. He will now as he switches play to the left back pocket. Just drifts wide in the breeze and Bramble takes the mark next to Sicily. Plays on as Sicily offers a block and then receives the hand pass as he pushes back around Harry Jones, back inside the defensive 50 to Frost. Back 30 metres out from his defensive goal at the punt road end, straight down the middle. Risky kick looking for Newcombe. Parrish picks it off for the Bombers. 1-2 with Shield. Gives it away to McGrath. Kicks inside 50. Menzie all on his own. Hand pass to Merritt. Feeds it away. Setterfield on the run. Doesn't get the distance from 40. But it bounces end over end. Clears an opponent and through for a goal. A kick which only had about 30 metres on it, needing 40. And the awkward bounce as it bounces past a couple of players and he sees the lighter side of it with a smile from ear to ear. Will Setterfield his first goal in new colours, and the Bombers with the first goal of the third quarter, which is just 90 seconds old. The Bombers 9-5-59 to the Hawks 5-7-37. There's a couple of players that be frustrated in the goal square. James Blank, the one who probably felt like he got the cruelest of bounces.
I've been a little bit more disappointed with my teammate Sammy Frost in trying to go up the gut with about 4 blokes around him. It's a good turn, a good setup from Essendon, the ability to shut that down, but he had the easy option coming wide. I don't reckon that's your go, Sammy. For all your good work, you've undone a little bit of it just then.
3 new guys all have a goal now, so Elwyn Davey Jr. just before half-time. Wiedemann kicked a couple. Time on in that second quarter, and now Setterfield, his first as a Don. Back in the middle, Reeves wins the hit out, but Merritt there for the Bombers, links up with Parrish, hands it away to the vice-captain in McGrath, peeling off the back flank, cutting through the centre square with 2 bounces, kicks inside 50, blanks underneath it, takes the mark, no it's not paid. Spills it on the way down, gives it to Hardwick, a laser-like pass out to Connor McDonald who marks at half-back. The second-year Hawk kicks it out in front of Moore, comes back to him underneath Kelly. It's a hand pass away to Impey. Hurried handball to Amon. G gives it to McDonald, who's dispossessed by Kelly. Davey collects the footy. Hand pass to Shield at half forward. Gives it to Ridley. Runs into goal and pops it through. A loud start to the second half for the Bombers. And Jordan Ridley makes it a day of first for Essendon. He kicks his first goal in the big time 69 games in. The best and fairest winner from a few seasons back. Essendon 10-5-65, Hawthorn 5-7-37, and now the Bombers are out by 28.
Well, it's a great team goal because when you're coming out of defensive 50 and you can't find a kick because you've got a defender right up someone's backside lids and you close the outlet down and you tackle and you chase and then you return it back inside 50 and kick a goal, you know you're on. So Essendon have certainly turned up in this second half and trying to throw this game right down at Hawthorn and say, well, if you're willing to come with us, get around us in the contest because Essendon have started like a house on fire here.
So Redmond and now a goal from Ridley. The Bombers defenders getting on the board. Draper trying to get a clearance, taps it to his own advantage. Can't quite sock it off the deck at half forward. Gathering the footy is Ward. He's tackled and thrown down. And then Warple lays a big tackle, and this time it is rewarded.
Good tackle.
His tackle on Dylan Shield, the 200 gamer, and he'll take the free kick right on the defensive 50. Lauren Borton on the boundary.
Amongst all that around the Essendon goal, it was Jake Kelly that limped off. He's got a bit of a problem with his left knee, so he's just limping along the boundary line now, but he's got a smile on his face, so we'll just watch him when he goes back on the field.
Thanks, Lauren. Warple to Sicily, and now to Hardwick at right half back. Spots McDonald, who's free on the members' wing. Looks up towards Reeves. He reaches up. Draper spoils it down. McKenzie front and centre for the Hawks. Almost took too long as Martin laid the tackle. Got it away to Moore. The hand pass to Warple inside 50. Kaczynski up with one arm. Can't take the mark. It's stuck underneath Bruce. McGrath trying to rip it away. Umpire gives it a few moments and we'll ball it up. But we got the benefit of the doubt there. Luke Bruce. May have been tripped on the replay.
Dons kicked the last 5 goals in the game, either side of half-time. Draper grabs it out of the ruck, kicks to centre-half back, but it's Newcombe who rips it down. Only been in the system a year and a half, mid-season pick. a couple of years ago. Looks into the pocket. She kicks it out of bounds on full.
I know how you get in the attendance record, Corby.
Yes.
Derbies.
One of them, so no game in Perth hurts them big time because of Ed Sheeran, so the ground's unavailable. You'd think the Dockers or the Eagles would be
causing some grief, isn't he, Ed Sheeran?
Bigger drawers. The kick out to half-back for Ridley, kicks down the wing. Mark taken by Durham. You need the Swans at home rather than the Giants, don't you? Yep, that doesn't help. As Durham goes short here. Out to Setterfield, who marks between wing and half forward, looks into the pocket. Jones, the target, carries his head. Perkins trying to claim it on the half volley, tackled by Hardwick. Ball up forward pocket. So just a little soft Saturday hurt us.
Yeah, your Queensland game being a Gold Coast rather than a Brisbane one's probably hurt as well.
Suggestion on the SMS for you, Corby. I'll bring that in a moment or so's time. Reeves wins down the tap. Warple can't hang on. I've got it, Corby. Easy fix. GWS and Gold Coast play each other, which frees up Adelaide and the Sydney Swans at the Adelaide Oval. That'll do it.
Yeah, but 2 games in Adelaide. We can only have 1 in Adelaide.
Correct weight.
But yeah, a couple of little things. I think we can get just over 400 next year.
Wiedemann got rid of Reeves from the throw-in. Couldn't hang on to it, though. And a clearing kick into the middle of the ground. Picked up well by Ridley. Hand pass too sharp for Perkins, though. Warple gathers for the Hawks. Kicks up to Kaczynski, back with the flight. Coming the other way, Zerk Thatcher. Sliding in, Draper knocks it away from Kaczynski, whose tackle seemed high. No whistle, and now holding the footy. And Brandon Zerk Thatcher is incredibly unlucky.
Is it because he ducked?
Better say, great football from all concerned there, except for probably the bloke in yellow.
So the free kick going the way of Kaczynski of the Hawks. Looks inside 50, Bruce, and Moore spots Moore going back with the flight. He marks hard up against the boundary in the left forward pocket.
They got the wrong bloke. They're calling Boost. No, Dylan Moore.
He's right up against the boundary as he steps out across his body, trying to snap it back. He's a long way out to go for that kick and falls a couple of metres short. Mason Redmond, the only player standing on the behind line, takes the mark.
So Redmond just chips it short to McGrath. Hawthorn desperately need the next one here. The Bombers kicking the last 3 of the first half and the first 2 of this third quarter. Short kick out towards Setterfield. Lays a hand pass over to McGrath. Swings it further wide to Langford. Well-weighted pass. Kicks it down the wing to Nick Martin. Short kick further forward to Caldwell. A short kicking game. Moving the ball forward here for Essendon. We'll go back to halfway. And they continue the shift now. Now it comes through Laverty to Langford. Short kick. Shield, middle of the ground, feints to hand pass and then just steps his way around Fergus Green. He kicks off his preferred left boot to the top of the goal square. Blank the spoil. Hands on it on the way through from Merritt. Couldn't trap it. Chance for Perkins. Breaks the tackle. Kicks the goal. There are 5 that can't be put out at the moment, the Bombers. 6 in a row. Either side at half-time and a new game high. Dons by 34 points. 9 played third term. 11-5 to 5-7.
They've just sort of been pushed aside a bit too easily in this quarter. Hawthorn, they just haven't held their tackles, allowing Essendon to play their uncontested mark game, which they're playing that really well today. I've actually been really impressed by the way in which they've created a lot of space for one another and just seeing someone, just see a kick 15, 20 metres away, back someone in, hit the easy one, just maintain the football, take the yardage. They're just playing a pretty simple brand of football at the moment. They all seem to be on the right page.
I just love his ability to stand up in that tackle, not get flustered in front of goal, stand up, shake him off, and then just have the composure and knock it through. I like Archie Perkins in that front half for Essendon.
Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. 3 goals to none in this third term. As Corbin may mention, the last 6 goals of the match. Hawthorn's last goal came midway through the second quarter. Parrish with the clearance, kicks inside 50. Sicily lunging forward, can't take the mark. Ball spills clear. Still a chance for the Bombers. Martin onto a bramble, lays the tackle. Trying to rip it clear. It's knocked away of Hardwick. Losing his footing. He can't get it away. Perkins run down by Frost. Spills the way of Nash. He's tackled and brought down. Nick Martin lays another tackle. It's a rolling ball at the moment. The umpire will be forced to come in and ball it up. So Jacob Kaczynski out of the match and Connor Nash comes in. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti, the sub for the Bombers, still hasn't been used. Reeves gets the clearance, tries to do it all himself. His kick is partially smothered. Spills the way of Parrish. He's tackled. Durham puts his head down, tries to charge through, can't control the footy. It spills to Heppel, chips it out in the path of Jones. It bounces in front of him. Blank right there with him. Knocked it onto Langford. Snaps across his body. Jaff going back. Dropped the mark. Top of the defensive goal square. Wiedemann right there with him. Jaff handballs it straight to Perkins for his second. Trying to get the hand pass to Reeves, and sliding in the middle was Archie Perkins, who snaps over his left shoulder for back-to-back goals. And the Bombers are out by 40. That's 7 in a row. 12-5-77 to the Hawks 5-7-37. 11 minutes gone, third term.
It was good quick hands from big Harry Jones on the kick. Didn't quite hit him there from Heppel as it was coming inside 50, but quick hands to Langford. He had a shot. Thought he might have maybe found one. Then it was just good persistence from Wiedemann. Made the contest, followed up. Wasn't necessarily a tackle, but just being there, applying that pressure on Giath. And Perkins just picked his pocket. Been some right place, right time.
Yeah, been some good stoppage craft in this quarter from the Essendon midfielders. Parrish has stood out a few times, just pushing in the hips, creating some space. Setterfield, Merritt, winning the contest around the footy.
Perkins there, part of that year that the Bombers had those 3 early picks inside the top 12 or so when they took Cox, who we haven't seen as much of as what Essendon fans would have hoped, and also Zach Reid likewise. But Perkins showing good signs now in his 40th game starting season 3. Here's the sub Nash, who kicks to centre half forward. Zerk Thatcher for the Bombers though. Hand pass away to McGrath, to Laverty, back to McGrath. Now by hand away to Langford. So the Bombers work it out of defence. Very clean work. And he kicks wide to Durham, takes the mark, swings his kick down the southern wing to Setterfield, plays on by hand to Nick Martin, loops it over the top to Merritt, goes back by hand to Setterfield, still between wing and half forward, kicks a high bomb inside the forward 50, Jones! Young Harry Jones leaping up and taking the contested grab, and the 22-year-old will shoot from 30 out, 45-degree angle.
It was a good spread and work rate from the Essendon midfielders, but I'm not sure where the breakdown was, but there was a spare ahead of the ball.
Yeah.
So
Chaff ended up with a 2-on-1.
Not sure what happened there, but just the Essendon work rate just really noticeable at the moment from back in that D50 contest, and then just the spread and use of ball was really great.
Great chain for Essendon. Results in a set shot for Harry Jones, their young emerging forward. He misses out to the left. Minor score. They have kicked 7 in a row, as Clinchy mentioned. They've also kicked 10 of the last 11 in the game. Bombers by 41, 13 played third term.
Bramble into the pocket for the Hawks. Sicily takes the mark. Under the Shane Warne stand, he looks up to the wing, puts it out in front of Green. Got fingertips to it, but couldn't complete the mark. Knocked out by Durham. He's able to link up with Martin, who feeds it, Kelly in fact it was, who feeds it to Langford, and now out wide to Merritt. Mark's just inside the boundary at right half forward. Zach Merritt looking into the pocket for an option. Wiedemann comes out of the lead. Blank used his body well. Bit of a shove at the right time and got rid of him to take a good mark. Switches play into the right back pocket for Bramble. And now to Day. A couple of suggestions coming through on the SMS, 0437 774 774 for how Corby can help the AFL break the record, the attendance record in round 1. Bring you them in a moment.
Zach Merritt's finding out the benefit of your side going well. The tag has been dropped, so now gets a bit of free rein.
Day to Mackenzie. Mackenzie goes all the way to the back pocket for Sicily, and now he can kick out a defensive 50 up to the wing for McDonald. 41-point lead for Essendon. They've kicked only 1 goal after quarter time, Hawthorn. It was a good one, by the way, to Jath. It's the short kick to Nash, and he goes back to Sicily. They'll try down the northern side. Switches out to the members' wing. This is Bramble, who marks, runs over the AFL logo, looks inside the forward 50. Gee, leaping his way to the front. No mark for Bruce. Falls down to Redmond. Hand pass, though, out to Day's tackled without the footy. Free kick for Will Day. 52 out, half forward for Hawthorn. Immediately goes across the ground. Gee, didn't hit Warple, made it tough for him. Turnover. Martin for Essendon. Hand pass to Parrish. Away to Perkins. To Caldwell. Running with numbers now, Essendon. Durham has nothing up ahead. He's forced to cough it up. And Nash for Hawthorn. Oh, there's a free kick. He was tripped. Tackle slipped. Durham gets a lucky break, and Essendon swing the kick out to Ridley on the outer wing.
Goal scorer for the Bombers in this third quarter. He works the kick over the top. And the mark taken by Perkins. Centre wing on the southern side of the MCG. Sends it towards Phillips, one-on-one with Reeves and Meek at the very back. It's brought down by Draper. Warple front and centre. Hand pass out in the path of McInnes. Feeds it back to Nash. Left half back for the Hawks. There's not a lot of options. So it goes for a short, precise kick to Warple, who played on to Ward. Had to give it back to Warple. Turns and kicks inboard. McKenzie the target. Just juggles the mark. In front of Durham as he switches across half back. Day has it. Has Jaff running shotgun on the outside. Feeds the hand pass wide of him. Davey offers chase. Jaff takes another bounce. Looks up. Kicks to Fergus Green. Can't complete the mark. Right at the top of the 50. Tries to break through the Davies tackle. He's locked up. Umpire says he'll ball it up. Just at the edge of the centre square at half forward for the Hawks.
Up it goes. Essendon by 41. Hurried kick forward from the Hawks inside the forward 50. Green was there. He's pushed out of the way though. And ball comes out of the forward arc. A Day scrapping forward along with Heppel on the deck. Inadvertently socket away by Hardwick into the advantage of Big Phillips. Bangs it forward for Essendon. Wiedemann keeps his feet. Sicily went to ground. Wiedemann wins the footy. Hand pass to Perkins. Kicks to centre half forward. Martin takes the mark for the Bombers. Immediately moves it on. Draper's all alone in the goal square. Getting back. Frost. Hands on it. Draper keeps it alive and kicks the goal. Party time for Essendon. 8 straight goals in the game. And a jig from Draper after his goal of the year last year. The Bombers out by 47. He's got a couple today.
Well, they're just doing the basics really well at the moment, the Bombers. It's probably something that hasn't been said for quite a while, but they're just playing their percentages and doing the right things when it requires them. So even then, Nick Martin takes the mark 45 out and just sees the big man ahead of the ball and just knew that Frost was always going to have an issue trying to get back and trying to spoil it. So just didn't go back slow, just got around, wheeled around, kicked it straight to him. The big man just did the rest and celebrated like he just won the premiership.
He loves it, doesn't he? He brings a bit of joy to the game.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting to watch, isn't he?
And Andrew Phillips, who's been on an AFL list for 11 years, allows Draper to push forward and potentially be that target without Peter Wright in the lineup for the first half of the season. Bombers out by 47 points, 5 goals to none in this third term. Phillips and Meek. Phillips wins down the tap to Parrish. Hand passes it to Shields. Back to Parrish. Kicks towards half forward. Menzies with the hand pass away to Durham. Drives them long inside 50. Draper's there again. Trying to shove Sicily out of the way. Jarman Impey at the very back takes the mark for the Hawks. Kicks out to McDonald. On a long searching lead. He marks it left half back. Tries to work it further up the field to Meek. He marks on his chest the former Freo big man.
Meek pokes his pass down the wing. This is Hardwick, who's up in the front half, takes the mark. He's going to look across the ground. Finds Bramble alongside the centre circles. Continues to swing his kick out to the northern side. Jeep placed it straight between two Hawks, and Durham's there for the Bombers. Hand pass to Davey. Swings a handball to the middle of the Jeep for Caldwell. Again, they're queuing up for Essendon. Heppel by hand. Links up with Perkins for his third of the quarter. He misses. Just to the right. Essendon with the last 8 in the game. They've kicked 11 of the last 12. The Bombers by 8 goals, 19 minutes into the third.
Frost quickly into Sicily, up the wing, and McKenzie takes the mark. Right half back for the Hawks. They're stuck on 5-7-37. The Bombers 13-7-85. Midway through the second quarter, the last time Hawthorn kicked a goal. Works it to Carl Amon, who takes the mark still at right half back. He wants a switch play. Inside the defensive 50, over the head of Jaff. He works back after it. No one really runs at him, so he looks at options out on the southern side. Works it out to McDonald. Takes the mark between wing and half back under the Shane Warne stand.
Just really well defensively set up at the moment. Essendon, there's just no easy way through, and Hawthorn have to go side to side trying to find an avenue forward.
Wide to McGuinness, who had the job earlier on merit. That tag's dropped away, back to Sicily. All the way back inside the defensive 50 to Blank. A former Box Hill pupil who made his way up to the Hawthorn senior list. Now wider still, and Jarman Impey takes the mark.
And he goes short to Bramble. Remember, in Hawthorn led the game by 16 points, time on in the first quarter, so there's been like an 11-goal swing in the game. 13-7 to 5-7. Bramble dangerous. Back into the centre square. Jath forced to spoil. Picked up by Impey. Hand pass back to Jath under pressure, and they work it out, Hawthorn. Handball out to the outer wing for Ward. Great pressure from Davey. Forced an error on the kick. Slips to Nash. Still in Hawthorn's hands. Gives it back to Jath in his third touch in the chain. He chips it to Bruce. Takes the mark 52 out. Checks his kick to the top of the goal square. Trying to work his way to the front. Hardwick. No mark. Now Wingard has a go. He's dumped in a tackle, said the umpire. Gee, it's a tough call on Zerk Thatcher.
You let go of him. He just kept spinning, Chad. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
Well, Chad.
Wingard goes to ground and wins the free. Left forward pocket. He'll kick from 25 out.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that one. I suppose he lost control of the ball. He didn't just drop it.
Every bit of 200 games in that experience, just to roll on.
Played it, didn't he?
How about Blake Hardwick being thrown forward too?
Magnets.
Yeah, front half for Hawthorn. Desperately trying to break this run of 8 straight Essendon goals. Wingard on the free kick, misses near side. Another behind. Bombers by 47. 22 played third term. Hawthorn moved to 5-8. Essendon a 13-7. Time on here, third quarter.
1-2 for Chad Wingard, but that's Hawthorn's first score of the quarter. As Ridley brings them back into play. Laverty for the Bombers. Kicks up towards Redmond. Can't take the mark. Zerk Thatcher gathers. Sidesteps around Blank at half-back. Up to the wing. McInnes couldn't trap it. Perkins could. McInnes laid the tackle. He didn't have the footy. Perkins will take the free kick. Centre wing. On the SMS, 0437 774 774. Andrew, listening to you boys from Italy. Hope the Bombers will ruin the Hawks weekend. Loving the call. Some suggestions for you, Corby, around gather round as Blank takes the intercepting mark at left half back. Have a gather round in Melbourne on round one. That'll get $500,000.
I don't mind it.
They could have everyone in one place. Round one fixturing. How about move Richmond and Carlton to Saturday afternoon, then replay the grand final on Thursday night? And this was my favourite suggestion. Could they move Ed Sheeran ahead of St Kilda and Fremantle? He looks like a back pocket player. That's from Neil. I can tell you Mark Murphy couldn't name one of his songs.
I don't mind that. James Sicily just caught at half-back, but Hawthorn got the ball out and down the wing. Hand pass there from Moores, picked off. And Parrish comes up with it for Essendon. He feeds a hand pass to Setterfield, back to Parrish. Pad some stats. He runs and carries. A hand pass away to Merritt and goes back to Setterfield.
Looks like they're enjoying their footy at the moment, the Bombers, doesn't it?
Mate, some of the best in the game at padding them there. A couple of those boys. They are the best at it.
It's up to 10 for the quarter, Darcy Parrish. The Setterfield shares it with Laverty, back to Setterfield. High up and under down the wing. Martin involved with Impey. Impey got rid of Martin, couldn't take the mark. Spills to Newcomb of the Hawks. Hand pass to McGuinness. Kicks to centre half forward. They all slip over. Wingard bouncing back to his feet. Gets there first. Taps it out in front of himself. Still paddling the footy out in front. Did he have his jumper tugged? No, said the umpire. Has to hand pass over his shoulder and it bounces through from behind. And he's flapping his arms out, but no free kick for Chad Wingard there. 46-point Essendon's lead.
How do you miss that?
I think the umpire feels he shouldn't have given the last one, so tried to even it up, but that's got to be paid. That's a pure jumper pull if you've ever seen one.
24 gone, third term, Bombers by 46.
Quarter time at Docklands. The Saints taking on the Dockers in Ross Lyons return. St Kilda 3-3-21 to the Dockers 2-1-13. We'll take you there at the completion of this match. Hempel on half-back for the Bombers. Hand pass to Kelly. Works it away to Parrish, up the wing for Jones. Centre wing in front of the two benches. Feeds the hand pass to Merritt. Now away to Shield. In game 200. Looks long into the pocket. Draper's there. Going back with a flight. Almost held onto the mark. Not played. Blank sport at the last minute. And Jaff's able to rush it through for a minor score. And Sam Draker with the arms outstretched. What more do you want? Not paid the mark. Bombers by 46 points.
Jath on the kick out to Sicily, back pocket, dangerous kick, too much hang time, and his opposing skipper floats through and takes the intercept mark. And Zach Merritt will get a set shot here, 40 out left half forward.
Sis wasn't happy with Gian Newcomb there. I feel like he just held back a little bit too much.
He lays it off to Redmond. Redmond bangs it through and he's off and running. The Red Dog celebration from him. And Mason Redman has a couple. Essendon, by the way, have the last 9 in the game.
Well done by the skipper. Read the play beautifully, saw Sicily was looking towards the inside and picked it off, and then just called Redmond over from about 30 away and said, come here and take the kick from 50. And Hawthorn were just too slack and caught napping.
14-8-92, Hawthorn 5-9-39, Bombers by 53 points. They've kicked the last 9 in the game. They've kicked 12 of the last 13 after falling behind by 16 points time on in the opening quarter. We're now 26 minutes into the third.
He hits it pure, doesn't he, from out there on the run? He was off. As soon as he hit the boot, he was off.
He wasn't going back to Zach Merritt saying thanks.
No, he realised after 45-minute dash.
In the other direction.
6 goals to none in this third quarter the way of the Bombers. Back in the middle of the ground. Nash trying to get the clearance after Meek one down the tap. Knocks it on to Day. Gives it back to Connor Nash. The sub into the action. Kicks inside 50. It's over the head of Green, and Laverty's able to take the mark for the Bombers. 40 metres out from his defensive goal at the city end. Goes short to Andy McGrath. The vice-captain in the middle of the ground for his captain Merritt. Back edge of the square, played on by taking a step off his line. Back to McGrath, feeds it back to Merritt. Opened up the passage in front. Goes short to Setterfield. Through the middle of the MCG. Long kick inside 50. Draper, it won't get to him. Impey got hands to it. Was cannoned into in the back from Sam Draper. And Sicily scraps with Martin. The free kick has been paid. They'll continue on as the footy will eventually have to be returned to Jarman Impey, who got one in the back of the scone.
Draper wanted Setterfield to kick that 90. Centre wing to the top of the goal square. Don't think he's got that in him.
Impey goes short to Jaff, who marks in the right back pocket. And that famous number 9. Sean Burgoyne, Shane Crawford, Dipper. We've seen some highlights from CJ today as well. Long up the wing. Meek had a bit of it. Reeves had the rest, but it's going to be a Bombers free kick. Ridley was impeded in the marking contest, and he'll get the free kick.
Kicked a goal today, Jordan Ridley. First time in his AFL career. In his 69th game. He swings it out wide to Langford. I missed him at times last year as he kicks inside 50. G. Jones got hands to it, slips through his mitts though, and Sicily at the back mops it up. Hands it away to Warple. Short kick to McDonald. There's a lot of focus on Hawthorn over the summer about whether they'd cut this list too hard. We talked about how fit they were in the pre-game and very young group. Big moment here with a wave completely against them to see how they fight out this game. The kick down the line is a turnover as Heppel hands it away to McGrath, and McGrath hits the last touch of the quarter. Essendon pull further away. After leading by 16 points at halftime, they completely shut out the quarter. 6-3 to 2 behinds. They kicked the only 6 goals of the term to lead it by 53 points at three-quarter time. Essendon 14-8-92, Hawthorn 5-9-39. The goal kickers for the Bombers, Draper's got a couple, Wiedemann has 2, Perkins 2, and Mason Redman with 2. And then singles for Caldwell, Setterfield, Ridley, Jones, Davey and Menzies. While for Hawthorn, their 5 goal kickers haven't changed. 1 for Jath, Amon, Wingard, Bruce and Green.
Meanwhile, at Docklands, it's the Saints who hold the lead over the Dockers early in the second quarter. 3-3-21 to Fremantle 2-1-13. We'll take you to that match at the completion of this game at the MCG. Great to have your company on Grandstand AFL Sunday on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button.
Welcome to Sydney, 1983.
It was the hedonistic queer haven.
Come on, people!
That turns dark.
Something is killing gay men. Are you referring to AIDS?
Where fear was infectious.
Our kids are not safe.
But courage was contagious.
So many of our friends are getting sick.
New ABC drama, inspired by real events.
We have a choice.
In our blood.
The world needs beautiful things right now.
Sunday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
1-2 with Shield, gives it away to McGrath, kicks inside 50, Menzies all on his own, hand pass to Merritt, feeds it away, Setterfield on the run, doesn't get the distance from 40, but it bounces end over end, clears an opponent and through for a goal.
Davey collects the footy. Hand pass to Shield at half forward. Gives it to Ridley. Runs into goal and pops it through. Shield, middle of the ground, feints to hand pass and then just steps his way around Fergus Green. He kicks off his preferred left boot at the top of the goal square. Blank the spoil. Hands on it on the way through from Merritt. Couldn't trap it. Chance for Perkins. Breaks the tackle. Kicks the goal.
It spills to Heppel, chips it out in the path of Jones, it bounces in front of him, Blank right there with him, knocked it onto Langford, snaps across his body, Jaff going back, dropped the mark, top of the defensive goal square, Wiedemann right there with him, Jaff handballs it, straight to Perkins for his second.
Hand pass to Perkins, kicks to centre half forward, Martin takes the mark for the Bombers, immediately moves it on, Draper's all alone in the goal square, getting back, Frost, hands on it, Draper keeps it alive and kicks the goal. He lays it off to Redmond, Redmond bangs it through and he's off and running. The Red Dog celebration from him. Essendon, by the way, have the last 9 in the game.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Three-quarter time at the MCG. It's Essendon who lead by 53 points, 14-8-92 to the Hawks 5-9-39. The Bombers with the last 9 goals of the match, including 6 goals, 3 to Hawthorn's 2 behinds in that third quarter. 14-8-92 to the Hawks 5-9-39. Matt Clinch and Corbin Minimas calling the action. Lauren Borden down on the boundary. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio, your experts on ABC Sport.
Not sure what you think, Lids, obviously when you're Hawthorn and you're throwing the magnets around. But when you're a player, let's take yourself back to when you're a player, and just talking about Blake Hardwick, who's, I reckon, is their best small defender, and really hard at it. I just feel that's probably, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, just a bad move to move him half forward, because blokes look around and they think, well, why is he playing half forward when he's our best small defender? I think some guys you just don't move. There's probably maybe 2 or 3 guys I think you can, but I just think one of your better hard-nosed sort of players, I think you like to keep them in their natural spot.
I wonder whether it's just that he feels like, and this has been the story that I'm only projecting what I think would be happening, is, righto, you blokes were uncompetitive up there in the front half. I'm putting my best competitor up there to show you what it's like. Blake Hardwick was actually drafted as a full forward out of the Rangers years ago, so it's not unforeign to him to go onto the forward line, but I think that's how I'm looking at it, glass half full style versus the other way. You're a kick in the pants, mate. Get down there because I don't know where else to put you. I've been on the receiving end of a couple of those. But, I think it's more that way, just to say, come on, we need someone down there who can compete for us and really scrap and give us a bit more, because who are their tall targets down there at the moment? They've got Green, who's nearly their tallest, and then Meek or Reeves, who don't look like a forward when they're down there. So it's... And you can see they're just, like, Essendon looks so sound, but how slow has been the Hawthorn ball movement. Like
their build-up's been pretty slow.
They've got no targets, so they can't just back in there, big boys down. So you're just adding 150 metres to the GPS on every piece of ball movement.
But their best forwards out there at the moment, they're small ones. So Bruce, Wingard, Moore. So
kick dirty balls along the ground.
Kick dirty balls on the ground, or at the very worst, let's not do a chip.
Slow play. Got to go fast. But they tried to do that early. But then they had no one to kick to on either a back pattern or coming up at the ball to present to give them some time. So, they're up against it at the moment. But I think we knew that's what the case was going to be for the Hawks this year.
Yeah. That's sort of playing out before us at the moment, isn't it?
It is, but you can still try and find positives. And that's what Sam Mitchell's going to be looking for, right? Who is willing to really stand up and, still continue to play the way we want to play despite what the scoreboard says.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that's a message that would be coming out from Sam Mitchell, is like, right, boys, it hasn't been our day, but this last quarter, let's win this last quarter, and I'm going to find out a lot about individuals within this team and this team as a whole as to how they're going to approach this last quarter, because you just don't want them to roll over here and just cop a really big hiding, because that's the worst thing that can happen in round one, is if you go out there and roll over in the last quarter. So it's up those guys in the middle that are starting there at the moment. Newcomb's probably their best player in terms of in the midfield. Mackenzie's been really good for his first game, but they need a real statement in this last quarter just to show each other and their fans, and they're not just going to roll over.
Bombers leading by 53 points as we head into the final term. It's Phillips Up against Meek. Phillips wins down the tap and gets it to Parrish. The hand pass to Shield. Game 200. Feeds the hand pass wider still. Setterfield works it back to Parrish. Now the kick inside 50. Heppel in front takes the mark. He's able to control the mark in front of Carl Amon. He chips it to the lead of Harry Jones. It's spoiled away by Blank. Front and centre is Martin for the Bombers. 30 metres out from his attacking goal. Phillips tried to knock it on, but Sicily for the Hawks gathers. Today, who ran the gauntlet, gets the hand pass away to Ward. Just inside the defensive 50. Kicks up towards Green. 1-on-1 with Langford. Langford used his body well and takes the mark at right half forward.
Hand pass away to Parrish. Up to disposal number 26 as he kicks to centre half forward. Jaff had hands to it though for Hawthorn. Can't take the mark. Follows up. Shares it with Ward. Hand pass to Bramble. Trying to get back onto his right peg. Dangerous kick. Finds Meek though. Centre half back. Big Hawthorn ruckman. Kicks to the back edge of the centre square for Moore. Continues the shift out to the southern side for McDonald. Pokes his pass in front of Bruce. Collects low down on the half volley. So live play. He gives it back to McDonald, high up and under, not a great kick. Ridley knocks it back to McDonald. Hawthorn keep it. Hands it away to Amon against the boundary line, southern side. Looks back inboard for Nash. Can't complete the mark. Essendon with the numbers, force the turnover. Ridley for the Bombers. Hand pass through to Shield in his 200th. Gives it to Perkins. Kicks across the ground for Durham at full stretch. Can't reel it in. And Day for the Hawks. Sets Chankwas Jaff off to a run at full speed. Durham can't stop him. Jaff kicks inside 50 and Hardwick, who's been thrown forward, takes the mark. He just bangs it to Wingard, top of the goal square, but Kelly's back. Intercept mark for Essendon. Top of the defensive goal square. Bombers by 53 points. They've kicked the last 9 goals of the game.
Kelly looks up and Heppel offers a lead. He takes the mark 35 metres out from his defensive goal. Turns and kicks to Setterfield. His kick just finds Parrish, who pulls in the one-handed mark. Sends it wide to right half back, and Laverty takes the mark. Kick looking for Shield. He didn't realise it was intended for him. Frost just tried to slap it forward, looking for Day. Made it a bit too casual in the end. Durham gets it forward to Wiedering. Now the hand pass from Wiedemann to Shield. He feeds it forward to Caldwell. They're on here. Chips it over the top. Perkins misread it. He eventually gathers. Dodges Meek. Can finish on the right and misses to the right-hand side. Looking for a 10th consecutive goal for the Bombers. It was all a bit casual in the end. 54-point lead. 2.5 minutes gone, final term.
Casual's a word for it. Jeez. Pretty low intensity stuff for round one. As Bramble comes out of the goal square and kicks to half back for Sicily.
If this is as fit as they've been, Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Deary me.
Finds Sicily and he goes short to Ward and Ward connects with Day. Lays a hand pass back to Ward. Floats one off his preferred boot out to Wingard. A fellow lefty across centre half forward. McGuinness takes the mark. Looks inside the forward arc, trying to thread the needle through to Bruce. It's knocked away from him and Durham for the Bombers. Hand pass out to McGrath. He gave it to Merritt. Kicks hurriedly out to the southern wing. McGuinness chasing the footy. It beats him out of play. And a throw in on the southern side. 54 points, Essendon's lead. They did trail by 16 late in the opening quarter. We're now 4 minutes into the final term.
Interesting to see if Chad Wingard's
just walked off the ground.
Walked off from about 30 away.
Lauren Borden's down on the boundary. We'll get her to give us an update shortly from the throw-in. Comes the way of Ward of the Hawks. Hand pass to Connor Nash, the sub. Kicks up towards Hardwick, who's going forward. He marks on his chest, 60 from home. Kicks into the pocket, looking for Bruce, running back with the flight. Takes the mark in the right forward pocket. Only about 20 metres out, but heavily hemmed in the right forward pocket.
Maybe that's why Sam Mitchell coaches him.
That's right, mate. Exactly right. Natural forward.
Bruce steps out on the angle, looks to snap across his body. Stock standard finish from Luke Bruce, and it ends a long run for the Bombers. Hawthorn's last goal came midway through the second quarter. 9 consecutive goals for the Bombers, and finally Hawthorn are on the board at the 4.5 minute mark of the final term. 6-9-45 to the Bombers, 14-9-93. The margin is 48 points. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Chad Wingard, the moment he walked off, you're right, he came off pretty leisurely, sat down, then just spoke to the doctors and went down into the rooms. He did have some work done on his calf last quarter. It didn't look to be anything too serious, but we're not sure what it's related to, but we'll find out.
Good persistence by the Hawks there. And that's what you want to see, isn't it, Murph? We just don't want to see them roll over and get absolutely blown out of the water. Just keep competing. Show your teammates that you're willing to fight and just earn your spot next week in the side.
Bruce kicked 40 goals last year, his best return since 2018. Got a couple today. First game of 2023. Back in the middle, the two rucks go at it. Reeves and Draper. Spills down to Newcomb of the Hawks. Hand pass to Warple. Surge kick inside 50. Hardwick takes the mark, protected the drop zone. A one-on-one battle with Ridley. And the defender thrown forward in the third quarter is going to have a set shot 40 out.
Now when a comment just comes back to Boyer. Every time he's got disposal this quarter.
He's had 3 or 4 already this quarter. All of them going inside 50.
Just hold that CV for a coaching job, Murph, at the minute.
So Blake Hardwick, game 125, and this just his 7th goal. Kicks it through and the Hawks get 2 in a minute. Having waited a quarter and a half for their 6th. They move to 7-9-51. Essendon 14-9-93. The Bombers lead cut to 42. 6 minutes into the final term. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
On Essendon's bench, we've got McDonald, Tippenwoody. He's getting ready to go on. He's got the jumper on. We're not sure who's going to come off in place for him, but he's getting ready to come on the field for the first time in a long time, and you can hear the cheers behind me.
Round 21, 2021 against the Western Bulldogs. As Phillips comes to the ground, and here's the response for Anthony McDonald, Tippenwoody.
It's a perfect sub, isn't he? Just to come on. Electric player.
Incredible below us. Hawthorn fans are standing and applauding as well, so I think footy fans are happy to see AMT back in AFL footy for season 2023. Back in the middle, Reeves wins down the tap, but it's another clearance for the Bombers as Parrish kicks out towards Merritt at right half forward. Where is he? Anthony McDonald, Tippenwoody is 30 metres out. He's on his own at the moment as Merritt waits for him to lead. Here it comes. Sicily spoils it from behind. Parrish front and centre. Everyone could see that was happening. He fires from 45. A mark a couple of metres out. And it's Menzie who marks with a chance to kick his second. He's going to be put on the angle though, even though he's only 1.5 metres out. He'll just have to think his way through, snapping on the left.
I think James Sicily was like, I've read this book before.
I'm not playing in this game. Jai Menzie steps out, snaps through his second, and after a couple on the trot for the Hawks, the Bombers answer back. Back to a 48-point margin, 15-9-99 to the Hawks, 7-9-51. 8 minutes gone, final term on ABC Sport. Meanwhile at Docklands, it's the Dockers 4-3-27, leading the Saints 3-4-22. So after the Saints led at quarter time, the Dockers have taken the lead in the second quarter. We'll take you there at the completion of this game.
Well, it's just good ball movement out of the middle of the ground. Zach Merritt, he's really enjoyed that break at that tag, hasn't he? He's cashed in, playing across half forward. Look for McDonald, Tippenwoody, and then the Hawks, I think they were looking for McDonald, Tippenwoody as well, and they forgot that Menzie was sitting out the back by himself. Easy as you like goal.
Pretty bruise-free start to the final term. 8.5 minutes old. Essendon with the game in their keeping. An 8-goal lead. Back in the middle. Draper had to wait for it. Reeves wins it down. Nash hands it out to Newcomb. Took on the tackle of Setterfield. Just got it out to Warple. Out the front edge of the centre square. Drives his kick to the behind line. Hardwick reaching for it. Got hands to it, but spills it over the behind line. And a minor score. So Essendon by 47. 9 gone final term. And Lauren Borden.
It's Harry Jones that's been subbed off for Tipper. So Tipper did rotate with Andrew Phillips, but it's Harry Jones who's actually come off for him.
Thanks, Lauren. Mason Redmond looks to bring the Bombers back into play. Head of the left back pocket. Changed his mind and reverts back to the right back pocket by foot. And finds Jaden Laverty. Hand pass to Andy McGrath up against the boundary line. Normally a good user. Spots Martin. Dropped the mark. Has enough time to regather. Hand pass back to McGrath. Around the boundary line for Kelly. Feeds the hand pass forward for Caldwell. Past the interchange bench now. Centre wing. Kicks up towards half forward. Menzie's outnumbered and Sicily takes the mark alongside Blank for support. James Sicily at left half back for the Hawks. Kicks out towards Reeves. Bounces off his chest and goes out of play. Not far from where Lauren Borden's watching on.
It's bounced in front of Chad Wingard too, who's come up from the rooms. He's just felt a bit of a tweak in his calf, so he won't play any further part in the game today. So it's just a bit of a precaution at the moment is what Hawthorn's saying.
Not that the game's on the line, but that injury happened about a minute after they made their tactical sub, with Kazitsky coming out for Connor Nash. From the boundary throw in, Essendon win it. Centrefield feeds it to Merritt. He kicks it inside the forward 50. And here's McDonald Tippenwoody. Meanwhile, Sicily and Caldwell in a little bit of a scrap on the opposite flank. And Anthony McDonald Tippenwoody's got it at left half forward. It'll take a good kick from him from right on 50.
We can see why Hawthorn wanted to tag Zach Merritt at the start of the game. His burst from stoppages and his chain of possession play just creates something for his teammates. And again, his ball use going inside 50, just a class act.
Out of retirement, back in the red and black, Anthony McDonald Tippenwoody. He's back playing footy. And that's what he does best. Kicking goals at AFL level. McDonald Tippenwoody in his first game since 2021 pops it through to light up the MCG. Essendon by 53 points. They crack the ton in the process. 16-9-105. Hawthorn 7-10-52.
You mentioned it, Murphy. Zach Merritt's ability just to find the target. It wasn't the hardest kick, let's be honest, but
just his follow-up possession, wasn't it, from the stoppage, giving it off to a teammate and then running forward hard, which is what you want to see from him rather than sort of running wide. You want him actually just running towards their goals and getting used. And the reason why teams try and stop him is because he usually picks the right option and usually lands in a teammate's hands. So
he's not a contested ball pick, though, is he? So if you want to stop him, it's not that hard to, and that's what we saw McGuinness be able to do.
Bombers back out by 53 points. Tap came down the way of Parrish, feeds it to Caldwell. Here's McDonald Tippenwoody again, he's got it! Pushes off Frost and takes the mark in the right forward pocket. And don't the Bombers fans love that at the City end. They're up from their seats, waving their flags and their scarves. It's almost the perfect tactical sub for the contest.
Good bit of body work, wasn't it? In the forward pocket, up against a bigger body. Nice work, being able to do that. Can he compose himself now? The crowd's going bananas for him.
Couple of deep breaths. Out in the right forward pocket from about 25 metres out. For 2 kicks, for 2 goals. He's got it. No, he's missed to the right. It just was drifting right to the left and the wrong side of the goalpost. 54 points the Bombers lead.
Just willing it in, Clinchy.
I was trying my best. At this stage, Murph, we need something.
Jath on the kick out, goes for a run, and then kicks it long up towards the southern wing. Slips through to the feet of the 2 ruckmen. Knocked out to Warple. Hand pass away to Bruce. He links up with McDonald. Short kick to Green. Trying to take the juggled mark. Unsuccessful. Knocks it back to McDonald. He's under pressure. He's outnumbered. Tried to get it to Warple. Essendon with the numbers there, but despite the 4 of them, they've given away a free kick. Warple taken high as Heppel came in a little clumsy. And James Warple fell out of the team last year, back in the VFL after winning a B&F at 20 at Hawthorn. He kicks to the hot spot. Meek was down there, Pack forms in front of him. Says, I'll have it. 30 out from the Hawthorn goal. Essendon by 54 points. They kicked 9 in a row either side of half-time. Hawthorn went goalless in that 3rd term, which really killed off the contest. Final term here. And the ball up. Parrish, hand pass away to Heppel. Kicks hurriedly, but turns it over. Says play on. Amon takes a step around, drives it right to the goal square. Reeves down there along with Zerk Thatcher and Kelly. And in the end, Zerk Thatcher just knocks it through for a rush behind. So Essendon by 53 points. 14 gone final term.
Goal the way of the Saints. We'll take you there at the completion of this game. All of a sudden that match tightening up after the Dockers with a good second quarter. Ridley out of defence, Setterfield. Now to Langford. 4-4-28 apiece. Second quarter action. Langford in the back pocket for the Bombers. Spot stir, and that's a nice kick. Found him wedged in between a few Hawks and was able to take the mark. Centre wing. Tries to move it to Menzie, who's looked pretty good. Hand pass away to Martin. Short chip kick on the bounce to Wiedemann. Gets the hand pass away. Feeds it to Kelly, who got it from Perkins off the fat side of the footy. Have a go at that. Underneath it, juggling the mark is Dyson Heppel. given a few off today. He'll have this set shot just slightly left of centre, about 35 metres out.
Jake Kelly, this is the old school backman there, wasn't it? He's like, well, what am I doing in the forward line? Get rid of it. Up the chimney.
Up the chimney.
That's not bad. Dyson Heppel having handballed over the captaincy responsibilities. In the twilight of his career, he comes in looking to add to the party, and he steers it straight through the middle. A 17th goal for the Bombers. 17-10, 112 to the Hawks, 7-11-53. The margin balloons to 59 points at the 16-minute mark of the final term.
Well, I know the sting's gone out of the game, Lids, but I've still been impressed by the way in which Essendon have gone for their kicks and just refused just to go long and bang it long because it's an easy option. They've actually lowered their eyes and tried to go, well, that bloke's got a couple of metres, I'm going to hit it to him. Perfect example, that last play. Probably two options where you almost let them off by saying, oh, just go long down the line. But they lowered their eyes, hit a 25, 30-metre kick. They've obviously been training at really high intensity and getting confidence from their skills, because unless you're doing that at training, you're not going to try and do that in match scenarios. So some good signs for the Bombers.
News coming through from the match review officer, Keziah Pickett, with a 2-game suspension for his hit on Bailey Smith, and Lance Franklin a 1-game suspension on Sam Collins.
That has ramifications for the Hawks, so they play Sydney next week. May well have been the last time Buddy would ever play against his old team, and now he's facing a 1-game ban. So that's their fixture next Sunday. Franklin to miss, and Cozzy Pickett with a couple. A long kick from Jarman Impey heads down the members' wing. Green has it, bottom of the pack. He's taken high, and the tackle from Kelly. A little too rough over the shoulder. Essendon by 59.
Someone's down in the middle.
Stretcher here.
Oh, hang on.
Shield, is it?
Yeah, it's still in Shield in his 200th game. He's got 3 trainers around him. He's back on his feet now. After the delay, the umpire says we're right to continue. And Green's going to kick it into a crowded forward 50, and Hardwick in a wrestle with Langford. Langford wins that one.
Grab the right shoulder, Dylan Shield.
That's not a good way for it to end at 135 games with the Giants. Of course, a teammate of yours there, Lids, and now 65 with the Bombers, celebrating his milestone here at the G today. Essendon out of the defensive arc from Zerk Thatcher, chips it up to Menzies. He's kicked a couple. The small forward for Essendon goes short to Martin and knocked away from him by Nash. It's out of play. A throw in right on that southern wing. Gold Coast next week for the Bombers. 3 o'clock game. Bit in that for the Suns as well after a slip-up first up at home against Sydney, a match they were never really in. Essendon by 59 here, 18 gone, final turn.
Thrown back in. A chance for the Hawks to try and work it forward as Nash, well, it's a half forward, but McGrath gets in the middle for the Bombers. Hand pass around the back to Caldwell. Now Laverty. And Durham looks to switch it out to the open side. Members side. It's all clear for Redmond in front. Anthony McDonald, Timonwoody takes the mark. Takes the bounce, 60 from home. Chips it into the pocket unselfishly. Finds a teammate in Archie Perkins, who marks in the right forward pocket.
Good composure. I really liked Archie Perkins the second half. I thought he set him alight there in that third. A couple of goals. Some really good play forward of the footy. Real power athlete. Got good speed, but also good endurance to get up and down the ground.
Just sharp and clean, isn't he? Just looks like a really solid player with just that bit of class on his side. I like him.
Kicked 16 goals last season. This is for his 3rd this afternoon. Out in the right forward pocket. Beautiful finish. Bang! Straight over the goal umpire's hat. And the Bombers continue to enjoy a Sunday afternoon to start season 2023. One of their highest scores last year was 108 against the Hawks, 16-12, 108. So they passed that in season 2023. 18-10, 118 to the Hawks, 7-11-53. The margin is 65 points at the 20-minute mark of the final term.
Well, they've been impressive, Lids, to keep Hawthorn under 60 points and to kick over 110 points themselves. They've done a lot right, the Bombers, and other than probably a 15-minute period, they've been well and truly too good for Hawthorn.
Be interesting to see who you can squeeze into your votes, Murph, but I would have thought that he'd be close there. Young Archie Perkins, Darcy Parish been good all day.
Do you like how he's just shifted the votes?
I was going to say the on-air handball. Just got to get in first, Murph.
That's it.
So highest score that they've kicked in a couple of years. It'll also be their greatest winning margin. Last year, their biggest win was 8 goals. So Essendon are going forward again here out of the middle. Heavy chase down tackle. Durham gives it to Caldwell. Kicks wide. And Alwyn Davey Jr. takes the mark up against the boundary line. 40 out left half forward.
Oh, we need now some candy.
He arcs around. There were a few presenting up at him. In the end, kicks a high bomb to the top of the goal square. And Nick Reeves, the biggest man down there, and 207 centimetres, pulls it in for Hawthorn. Short to Frost. Hand pass out to Bramble under pressure. This gives it to McDonald, standing start. Kicks in the middle of the ground to Moore. Marks back edge of the centre square. Chips it down the southern wing. This is Lloyd Meek, who's cut his time between forward and in the ruck today. Hits up Will Day, who's been thrown forward. He marks true centre half forward. Kicks inside 50 and Fergus Green on the end of it. Takes the mark and he wants to share it. Turns, kicks it hurriedly to Moore. Honoured the lead, but kicks it over his head. And Zirk Thatcher takes the intercept mark for Essendon. And he goes out to halfback for Laverty.
Laverty can work it over the top. Durham takes the mark up against the boundary. So a good win for the Bombers, but Dylan Shield off the ground at the moment. His 200th game. As Lauren told you, an elbow injury, and Chad Wingard not returning as well after Kajitsky and Harry Jones have both been subbed out of the match. Back inside the defensive 50 for Zirk Thatcher. Chips it wider still, and Langford takes the mark at right half back. Into the middle of the ground. Good pass, found Setterfield. Hand pass to Martin running by. Gets a bounce into half forward. Long kick looking for Wiedemann. Up above him. That's a great mark. Finn McGuinness looked out of place, floating across the back to take a very good mark. Works it to Ward and then all the way up to Carl Lehman. Kick was over the head of Luke Bruce, but he can run back onto it. Stings well and truly out of this game as he brings it inboard to Day. Almost able to brush off the Parrish tackle. Contact below the knee. Newcomb took the advantage. There was no advantage. He missed Bruce, so it's going to come back. And Will Day will eventually get the kick. Just forward of the centre circles in the middle of the MCG. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Looks like a really serious injury when Dylan Shield did go down, but it seems to have been a neck injury, so he stretched it out. The doctors didn't seem too concerned, and he's now back on the field for the final few minutes.
Thanks, Lauren. Day's going to square up the kick to Bramble, who takes the mark in front of Anthony McDonald, Tipperwoody. On in the final quarter as the sub, short to Frost. Sends it wider still, and Fergus Green offers the lead. He marks out wide just inside the boundary line where the 50-metre arc meets it. Goes for a short pass into the pocket, missed his intended target in McDonald, and Shield back into the action with a clearing kick up towards McDonald. Tipperwoody 1-on-1 with Bramble, and Bramble takes the mark.
Half-time at Docklands, scores level, so 34 points apiece. They'll start again there after half-time. The turnover on the kick from Bramble. The Bombers come away with it as Parrish kicks it down to half-forward. This is Menzies takes the mark. And all eyes go to Waller as he just jogs inside the forward 50. The kick, though, is going to head inside the forward pocket. Caldwell again the target. Nash spoils. And then follows up by winning the footy for the Hawks. Hands it to Impey. Short kick to McGuinness. And McGuinness will go out wide with the kick to Bruce, who takes the mark against the boundary line. Round 6, 2013. Murph?
Yep.
Memorable for?
Round 6, 2013.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yep, you tell me.
Last time the Bombers ended a single round on top of the AFL ladder.
I should have known by your smile.
They are 65 points up, and as it sits on the live ladder, Clinchy, they will end the round on top.
I felt like I was calling a lot. Now I understand why the calculator was out. Corby doing some of his best maths. McGrath at half-back for the Bombers. Feeds the hand pass away. Redmond receives the kick from Kelly. Into the middle of the ground. It was a good kick. It found Zach Merritt, who wanted to give the hand pass back to Kelly. He missed him, but he taps it away from McKenzie to McDonald. Tipperwoody gives it to Zach Merritt. Can he finish with a goal? Snaps towards the top of the goal square, and Sicily takes the mark. The Hawks out of defence as he works it to Ward and then out to Newcomb at left half-back. 68,669, so that's going to get us well short, Corby, of our... What do we need? 100,000 from the 2 last games of the round.
Yeah, we need a few to go to the second half at Docklands to get us. If there's a spare 30,000 people, we had a long to duck in. get us over the line. As Merritt marks on the wing for Essendon, kicks to Draper, went flying down at the front of the pack. The umpire bought what he sold. Advantage applied. Hand pass to the man in the goal square, and it's banged through by Durham. Up into the second deck. Party time started long ago for the Bombers. More pain for the Hawks. Essendon by 71 points. 25 travelled final term, 19-10 to 7-11.
Well, this is when footy's pretty fun. If you're wearing
cashing
red
in
and
now.
black. Today it's...
Where are my boys that know how to cash in? There they are at the top. Top of the stat sheet. They know how to pat them.
Who's at the top?
Come
of the
on,
stat sheet?
let's name them.
Name them.
Parrish 34, Zach Merritt 28. Shields got 22. Setterfield in his first game for his new team 25.
And one, it's good effort.
Parrish very good all day.
He has been
15
very good.
Contested, 11 clearances.
Yeah, it's a big day.
It's a big day. When one of your teammates gets tagged and it's not you got to cash in.
Yeah, and that's a sign of a good team though. When you got one bloke who's getting tagged, the other guys around him need to stand up and get the footy, because the tag gets dropped all of a sudden because you're getting beaten out of the midfield. So they drop the tag, and then Merritt now gets on the end of it himself. So it's good work there from the midfielders.
Back in the middle, Phillips doing the ruck work against Meek. Tap comes down the way of Warple, trying to knock it out to the advantage of Day. Gets a clearing kick inside the 50. It's over the head of Reeves, racing out Newcomb. Ridley swats it away from him into the path of McGrath. He tries to work it back to Laverty. He's tackled immediately. Ball spills clear. The Bombers have the numbers. Ridley trying to break his way through. Over the top goes Bruce, and the umpire eventually crosses his arms and will ball it up. 45 metres out from the Hawthorn goal. 27 minutes gone, final term. Phillips flicks it over the back to Parrish. The hand pass to Merritt. Laverty with a hand pass inboard to Kelly. Here they go again, the Bombers. Chips it wider still, and Heppel takes the mark at right half-back. Looks up to the wing. Martin was running into space. The kick missed him as he ran back with the flight, and Frost intercepts into the middle of the ground for Moore. Just couldn't quite tap it to his own advantage. Laverty got a touch in there. Moore for the Hawks. Hand pass to Warple. Off a step. Kicks for Bruce. Fends off Langford and pulls in the mark. Luke Bruce in the right forward pocket.
He's been a damn good player for a long time now, Luke Bruce, hasn't he?
I was just about to say, he's just so good to watch, so clean. He'd be one of these guys who will finish his football career after 300-odd games. He'll go back to local football and kick 10 a week.
Chance to kick his third. He steps out, snaps across his body, curls it from right to left, and a beautiful finish. So it would have been pretty hard watching for some of the Hawks fans in the third quarter. They've kicked 3 goals to 5, Hawthorn, in this final term. It's a 65-point margin at one stage. It looked like it could have got sort of up towards 70 or 80. 19-10, 124 the Bombers to Hawthorn, 8-11-59.
How many goals has he kicked now for his career? Anyone tell me that?
It's up to 484.
That's amazing, isn't it? For a small forward. I know he's played in a successful era for the Hawks, but he's also played in some pretty dire years the last little bit as well. Just continues to bob up. Saw him walking his dog this morning. No fanfare. No, just goes about his business, Luke Bruce.
Yeah, been an absolute star.
Star of the game.
So given it's 68...
Some bloke just run off for the football, by the way, in the crowd.
Right.
Taxed it.
It's bold.
Good luck. Good luck, mate.
We're going to get close to this attendance record, by the way. So 68,691 here. I make that we need just under 40,000 for the 2 games. So 39,752 to break the record. Not knowing how many we had in Sydney, but we don't think it was any more than 10,000. So they might just need around 31, 32 at Docklands to get it done in that game where it's half-time at the moment between the Saints and the Dockers. Hawthorn work it inside their forward 50. Warple with a fend off, drives it to the behind line, and there is Hardwick who takes the mark.
Looks pretty natural down there, Hardwick.
Does look very good down there.
He's going to snap, and he's going to pop it through for his second. Just the 7th and 8th goals he's kicked in his career today in his 125th game. And Essendon's lead cut to 59 after the Hawks have banged through the last couple. We're inside the final minute on the game clock. The Bombers will be winning here by a wide margin. They lead it by 59 at present.
Yeah, he's made me look silly.
Oh, a little bit, but let's not get caught up in this.
No, the game's well and truly done and dusted, isn't it? But I just thought because he's been such a great player for such a long time down back, And he's sort of one of your heart and soul players, too, isn't he?
So Adam Jones is letting us know from the studio, so far 392,148 fans have attended matches across the opening round, with the game still at Docklands to come. So what are your numbers? What do we need?
I'm slightly different than Jonesy's numbers, which makes it...
Well, AFL fudging it.
He said they're from the AFL.
So I've added up all of the attendances that have been posted from each of the games, but maybe they found a few extra that have snuck in.
Sicily's having a run in the ruck. One down the tap to Ward. Gives it to Impey. Kicks inside 50. Newcombe almost juggled the mark. Laverty for the Bombers. Hand pass away to McGrath. Is there time for one more? Hand pass to Shield. Works it out wide to Caldwell. Kicks up the southern wing in the direction of Perkins. Jaffa's there. He spoils it out of play. And a boundary throw in. Under the Shane Warne stand, Bombers leading by 59 points.
It's kind of like the participation rates in sports where it's, the soccer or basketball or whatever sport it is has a record number of participation. Always managed to find a way to make the latest the greatest. Essendon by 59 points from the boundary throw in. Parrish, hand pass away to Durham. Kicks along the ground to centre half forward and be picked up though by Bramble. He sweeps a hand pass to Nash. McDonald, Tip and Woody coming to get him. Hand pass away to Ward just in time to Impey. He's caught by Parrish. Holding the ball and he'll get the free in the middle of the G. It's been a good day for the Bombers against their arch rival as Brad Scott pilots an Essendon victory in his first game in charge of the Dons. Essendon by 59.
Up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, the other teams they don't fear. They'll try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
It was bigger than any score they kicked last year. It was a bigger margin by any game they won by in 2022. 59 points the margin in the finish. 19-10, 124 to Hawthorn, 9-11, 65. More impressive, they fell behind by 16 time on in the first quarter, but then completely took over. They kicked 9 goals in a row either side of half-time, and at three-quarter time had it out as wide as 53. They win by 59 in the end.
See the Bombers fly up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, the other teams they don't fear. They'll try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly on.
They're right up on top of the AFL ladder as it sits at the moment, and barring something outrageous in the second half at Docklands, they will end the round on top of the table, something they haven't done since early in the 2013 season a decade ago. Essendon by 59 points in front of almost 69,000 at the MCG. A thumping victory over their arch rival, and for Hawthorn, who had gutted their list over the off-season, it's a rude awakening as to what 2020-13 may hold for this team deep in development mode. The Bombers by 59, Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, pretty solid performance there from the Bombers in the end. They were under siege a little bit early. I reckon the Hawks jumped them. I wasn't too sure as to how the Bombers were going to handle it for one, but how could they rally back and get themselves back on track. But true to form, they stuck at it, didn't they?
Yeah. They did. They started the game pretty well, Essendon, and then Hawthorn had them on toast there for probably 15, 20 minutes, and they were moving the ball at will and just looked like it was going to be their day. But since that probably 10 minutes into the second quarter, it was just all Essendon for the rest of the day. They just were really great in the contest. They worked hard for one another. Their work rate from defensive 50 through the middle of the ground and then forward was really impressive. I just thought they cut them up throughout the middle of the ground. They just made the game really, really wide and long, and they were just able to just pick their way through and get the ball into their forwards, sort of those 1v1 opportunities, which the forwards, as we know, they love that. So it was a pretty all-round performance from Essendon. They keep Hawthorn to 65 points and kick 124 themselves, and all their midfielders got involved. They all played their part. We spoke a bit about Zach Merritt getting tagged, and the other midfielders around him just got the ball at will, so it just forced Hawthorn to have to make a change there and just do something completely different. And then Zach Merritt just ends up getting 29 himself. So there was some really important performances throughout. I think it was just a really great team performance from across the lines, from defence through the midfield and up forward.
I was impressed with a couple of guys down back. I thought Ridley was good all day. Zerk Thatcher, I know they didn't have a key forward, but Kaczynski was subbed out of the game purely off the job that he was doing. He ended up with 12 intercept possessions. I reckon that's where Hawthorn, they're just going to need to find a forward target, someone that they can kick to, someone who can create a contest for them, because it's so hard when when the ball's coming in and you just can't. It's just getting picked off and it's going back the other way. You're just forced to. You're all up the ground. You're trying to work your backside up to help defensively, but then you've got to get back. And when it's just being turned around, makes it incredibly hard to keep the ball in your front half.
Yeah, they're just being spread too thin at the moment. Obviously, Mitch Lewis is a big out, being one of their main key forward, and then you lose Jack Gunston along with that. It puts a lot of pressure on the other forwards down there, and they've got some good small forwards, but their other tall forwards at the moment just learning the game really at AFL level. So they're spread pretty thin throughout their list, but especially up forward at the moment.
So a big Bombers win under Brad Scott first up. They've got the Gold Coast Suns next week, so
2-0.
Could they build some momentum early?
Well, I think they can, absolutely. They could, you never know what can happen under a new coach and get some momentum, get some confidence.
Yep.
You can really start to ride that train, but I'm not sure how much that was good Essendon versus really bad Hawthorn.
You can only play against who's out there, but I think in which to start the year, I think they get great belief and momentum after having a new coach come on, and to be able to win the way in which they did today, and they actually got challenged in that start of the game. So it wasn't like they had it all their own way for the entirety of the game. They were pushed back against Ard early, and they found a way just by winning the ball at the contest, and then their work rate and their ball use was pretty smooth throughout.
And Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody played the tactical sub, came on in the last quarter, kicked a goal. Crowd was enjoying it by that stage. It's nice to see him back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good for him. The crowd obviously got a real lift out of it because the game had started to fizzle by then, but they were up and about, as were you, Clinchy, I reckon, when he got that shot in that forward pocket. You're willing that goal through for him. But
well, given you stitch me up in the AFL 9s, I just like seeing the guys return back and shine, really.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's probably pretty good in the ice.
There was flashbacks to when Fev was stuck on 99 and balls were coming inside 50 from everywhere trying to hit Fev, and everyone was calling for Tim and Woody to be on the end of it. In that last quarter. The game had well and truly fizzled out, Lids, but he's a cult hero of the Essendon Football Club and the AFL in general, so it's good to see your real classy players still playing AFL, and good to see him back playing.
It's halftime in the match at Docklands. Scores locked at 34 apiece between St Kilda and Fremantle. We'll take you there for the opening bounce of the third quarter. So 3-2-1 in the ABC Football of the Year to come. But just as the Bombers are about to make their way off the MCG, just a further thought or two on the Hawks, because they've got Sydney next week. Then they have North Melbourne in the Alistair Clarkson rematch in round 3. So there's sort of some indication there that they're going to come out firing, but they might fatigue throughout matches, a bit like what we saw today.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a hard year for Hawthorn. I think when you lose the amount of experience that they lost last year, it's always going to be difficult to cover that. And you might look at the names that left and think, oh, they're at the back end of their career. What's that really matter? But it just forces a load onto probably some guys who probably aren't ready to take that load, and then those guys are forced under more pressure, which means then you've got to rely upon the real youth of your team and your list. So it does force a few holes within your list when you get rid of some real experience. So
where's their wins coming from?
Sorry?
Where's their win coming from?
Well,
I thought today was gettable for them.
Yep.
And they've been absolutely smacked.
Yeah, where's interrupt you for a second. Dylan Shield being chaired off by Dyson Heppel and Jordan Ridley, and Alwyn Davey Jr. getting some selfies with the fans in the front row, the Bombers fans, who are certainly enjoying this win. It's been a tough 12 months for them, but they're certainly enjoying stitching up one of their arch rivals on a day in which Hawthorn celebrated their 1983 premiership. The Bombers fans are soaking it up as they make their way down to the race. Sorry, Murph.
Yeah, sometimes when you lose so much experience, just too much falls to too few. So you lose Jack Gunston, Tom Mitchell, Jago O'Meara, Liam Shields. I think he retired, but was probably forced out. And then you have a few injuries to a few of your key players, and then that really spreads you thin. So we all knew it was going to be a tough year for Hawthorn, and it looks like that will be the case, but you never know. They might find a bit of form and momentum, but it's going to be a challenging road.
Let's join the Bombers. Lauren Borden's down in their change rooms.
I am. They've all come down. There's probably about 150 family members here, all with their phones out now, huge grins on their face. Coming down here to form a circle. Dylan Shields got his little baby in it, and he'll be in there for his 200th game. We'll have Wiedemann is getting pushed into the circle. Looks like he doesn't want to be in it for his first game as a Bomber. Might not have any choice. Setterfield and Davey going in as well, and they're all jumping around as they look set to start the song in round one.
So the Bombers winners by 59 points. David Barham, the president, right there up against the signage, and Brad Scott with his hands in his pockets. He's definitely not a part of the team song like Alistair Clarkson was yesterday for North Melbourne. So happy to enjoy the win, but no doubt for some of his youngsters, he'll be happy to give them the pats on the back once they get into the team meeting. So not too far away from the second half getting underway at Docklands. We're going to go there for the opening bounce to the 3-2-1 for the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Thanks, Clinchy. Yeah, I was really impressed with Archie Perkins. Archie Perkins gets my one vote today. I just thought after half-time he really stood up and played a really pivotal role, kicking 3 goals. So I just
he was good.
I just thought he's as you made mention of him, Lids, throughout the broadcast, he's got a real bit of class about him for such a young bloke. So I just thought his touches were really crucial today. 2 votes goes to Mason Redmond.
Oh, I liked him too off half-back.
Yeah,
got to celebrate those goals.
You do. And you've got to celebrate those goals, but it's had 7 intercept possessions as well. But just daring runs and getting high up the ground and obviously kicking those 2 goals. He had 24 disposals and was really effective off the half-back line. And my 3 votes goes to Darcy Parish, who had 37 and 13 clearances, and it was easily the best on ground.
So 3 to Darcy Parish and the Bombers. 59-point win over the Hawks here at the MCG. Thanks to Murph, to Brett Delidio, to Lauren Borden, to Jules, to Adam, to Corbin and all the crew. Let's take you to Docklands. 5-4-34 apiece as the third quarter is set to get underway. To Ben Cameron and Andrew Mays, Brett Harvey, Brad Sewell and Jess Webster. Goodbye from the